Yes! Yes, 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 yes! That was a goal! Goal! Striker! Eat that! And another! Bing bang, stick it in. Thank you and good night.
Twat! That was liquid football!
Shit! Did you see that? He must have a foot like a traction engine. Goal!
Hello everybody, it's your old friends at Monday Madness and welcome to the latest episode of the Liquid Football Podcast, where we are still in a World Cup buzz. We are taking our first little pit stop and talking about the end of the group stages, with everyone playing 2 games and everyone vying for positions for those vital knockout rounds. We are going to be going all across the groups and seeing which ones have been impressing us the most, which ones have been the most interesting, and which ones of us have we skipped completely because of time zones. It's a European podcast. What do you expect? Once we talk about all the groups, the ones that have been ones that have been interesting and intriguing us the most, we're going to be doing our winning 11 halftime game, where we'll be talking about the other 7-1 scoreline from World Cup lore, and then we'll be ending our show then on a mixture of narratives and CODs. Are our World Cup CODs still holding out as we predicted in our previous podcast? And what other stories have we been picking out from the World Cup so far, as we've seen pretty much something of all teams at time of recording? Should say that of course we are recording this just as the Group B and C fixtures are being settled on the night, and obviously by the time this comes out there'll be more football happening. Group A will have been settled as well, so some of this stuff might be a little bit out of date, but just give us a grain of salt here and picture as a moment in time as we're talking about it. And if you're watching the YouTube version of this, you are getting treated to a alternate 2002 World Cup, the one time Ireland were good, without putting them under pressure, to see if I can do any better than Mick McCarthy's boys back in Saipan. So that's all to look forward to on the latest episode of the Liquid Football Podcast.
Goal!
We are 2 weeks into the World Cup 2026. It's been good-ish, I think, considering now that we've had very low opinions of it in our previous podcast. It's certainly been not as shit as I thought it was going to be. It's certainly got plenty of stories, plenty of narratives, plenty of talking points. I think that's probably what FIFA wanted to begin with, was conversation and content and everything in between. Aaron, you're with me on this pod for to recap us of the first 2 weeks worth of football. Have you enjoyed what you've seen so far, and how much of the World Cup have you been able to shovel down?
I haven't been able to watch a lot of it. The times they play is kind of difficult, and then the games that are on at 8 o'clock, they're generally not good. And I also refuse to watch the England team. So the only 2 games I've caught were the 2 games with Bosnia.
Well, you did adopt Bosnia as your unofficial team.
They were my unofficial team for it.
Yes.
The first game was nervy, but they managed to come out with a draw. And then the second game was just, it was fucking madness. it went from being, I put it in the chat, I was like, this is boring, and then it ended 4-1. I was like, what's happened? It just kicked into gear. They got Switzerland scored first. I was like, okay, there's a bit of something there, and then not only did Switzerland score, they ended up getting a player sent off of Bosnia, and then they just ran riot with it. And Bosnia managed to pull one back, and then was it 4-2 or 4-1 at the end?
4-1 in the end, yeah.
Yeah, that goal could be goal of the tournament, because it just came out. A, came out of fucking nowhere because they had absolutely nothing to their game.
Yeah,
and B, it was you could pick that one right out. It was a clean volley. It was brilliant. It was right in basically in the center of the net. And I think with the draw and the fact that they're currently winning actually against Qatar, they'll probably go through. I think with 4 points. I think it's guaranteed anyone with 4 points. Yeah. So I mean, they're doing well. They probably won't get past that if I'm being completely honest. But it's been fun. Other than that, I've seen very, very, very little. A lot less than I would have liked to have seen. But,
okay, well listen, we'll go through the groups anyway, and we'll see what kind of memory spark in the old cerebellum. So we'll start off with Group A. We'll start off with all the host groups. Obviously Mexico kicked us all off. On the 11th of June, which feels like a fucking month ago, the amount of games we've been seeing in between,
Mm-hmm.
with like the most comfortable, comprehensive 2-0 win of over a country I think you'll ever see. South Africa, I think, have let themselves down. I think it's fair to say in this campaign, like they came in with like I wouldn't say like hype in a sense, but they did qualify on merit. Like they did beat some pretty decent um countries to get to this stage. But I think what really let them down was the fact that like they obviously like have no discipline on the field. I've been kind of
Yeah, I
taking
mean, the
notes.
first game
Yeah.
in getting like two red cards, and it's like, okay, maybe do that in the last game when you've got nothing else to play for, not the first one
Mm.
that everyone's got their eyes in you, and the lads are just like, we're gonna go and commit murder
Yeah, essentially.
just to
I think
kick
Mexico
things off.
I think Mexico probably could have scored more goals in fairness, but they definitely made it a choice to kind of settle and coast through the game until they got the second goal. Which on itself was a great story because obviously the like Jimenez has never scored at a World Cup, which is an
Mm.
incredible thing to say considering he's been in the team for maybe 12 years, I think, at this stage. And obviously just his own story that if it's his first World Cup goal, it's in front of his own people in the Azteca after the kind of awful kind of stuff he's had in the past is a great story. It's a very, if anything, it's a very telenovela kind of ending to his career in a sense. So that's quite nice. But I would say, yeah, like that match in itself was like, I suppose like if that was the pace setter of the tournament, I mean, I can't really say like better than that. Uh, because like if every match was that mental, then it would be a great World Cup. Um,
Yeah,
I suppose as we go down the list, then I suppose they haven't necessarily been too many stinkers in a sense. Each match has had something to go with it. So Mexico will follow that up then, obviously, with a 1-0 win against South Korea. That was a bit of a fluky one. South Korea kind of let them away with it with that goalkeeping blunder. But South Korea are likely going through in second place with the win against Czechia, and they'll more than likely beat South Africa in the match to come. Um, Probably standard really for Mexico. I mean, like they're certainly flattered by the group, and I think if you're looking
I
at
mean,
how Czechia are playing,
Mexico always go out of the group. The issue
oh,
with Mexico is when they get to the second round and they end up always bottom.
that's it
They're
exactly.
kind of like the football version of Ireland in the Rugby World Cup. They
Yeah,
always get out of the group, but
mm.
that's as far as they go.
Yep.
Um,
Comparison.
so I mean, yeah, good for them. I hope they go far. I don't want the Americans to be the only ones. And with the way the draw is going at the moment, the Americans are would definitely fancy themselves to get to the quarters,
I think
if
the
not the
way the
semis.
draw has the way the seeding has kind of played out, it's kind of like the US are almost expected to do the quarters, as are Mexico.
Yeah.
Although Mexico will are pretty much on a collision course with England for the round of 16. So yeah, that's not
Mhm.
going to happen. I would say, but no, in fairness, like I think Mexico is always one of those ones where like I've been kind of trying to compare the three host nations as I've been going along because I've been able to watch most of the Canadian matches and most of the Mexican, like one of the Mexican matches, like at our time. Again, international viewers will have to realize that we're working on stupid o'clock here. If we're going to be watching these matches, and I'm sorry, as much as I enjoy a World Cup, I'm not staying up until 4 a.m. to watch USA. Sorry about you. So yeah, highlights for me.
It's fair. I mean, that's
Yeah,
fair enough.
but I would say the more I look at this group, I'm thinking to myself, fucking hell, if Ireland were in this group, we would have done quite a lot in this, I have to say.
We would have got out of this group. This would
Yeah.
have we would have easily gotten third. I mean, we would have beaten South Africans.
This South African
We
team, absolutely. Like that match they had
we
against
would have beaten
Czechia
them,
was
and
shocking.
we probably would have gotten a draw off of South Korea. I don't think we would have beaten the Mexicans. I think they're too good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would have picked up 4 points. We would have gotten it. Would have the draw would have landed then.
Mm.
Would have been up to the gods. But I mean, we really would be kicking ourselves that we let the Czechia get back into that game.
Yep, for sure.
Um,
For sure.
but yeah,
Okay. So then you mentioned Bosnia there earlier on. So Group B is looking like there's gonna be four teams coming out of that group because Canada and Switzerland are currently fighting. Well, as we're recording, Group B is being settled. So you will know the results of that by the time this comes out. But yeah, Canada and Switzerland are currently fighting over top spots. Basically, who wants to have a free swing against Australia, me or you? Is essentially the question
yeah.
there. But Bosnia, they're likely going to beat Qatar, so they'll finish in third. And the good value for it, in fairness, they held Canada to a draw in the first game.
Yeah,
They're certainly not better than they kind of you'd expect of this Bosnian team. In fairness, they're bigger than the sum of their parts in a sense.
they're see the team is quite good. It's just that even based off of the Switzerland game, it's like it very much played to me like they were playing for a draw.
Mm,
And I was listening to Finn versus History when it was on, so I was half listening to their commentary. It was just a lot of dodgy jokes. And it was the game
fair.
as well, but it was fun. Um, but yeah, they just the entire time we're watching, it's just like, do any of these teams want to win? The
Mm,
Swiss have something about them, but again, it was like they can't seem to break through. A fairly solid defensively Bosnian team. It was just that it just capitulated after when the Swiss got the first goal, and then they went mad and gave away a penalty,
yeah.
and it just went all downhill from there. Sorry, they gave away a free for the red card, and they gave away a penalty at the end. Xhaka probably should have let their striker take that to get a hat trick in a World Cup.
Mm.
But whatever, you do you, I guess. I mean, I didn't understand it, but it was good. I don't know how. I've only seen bits and pieces of Qatar. There's certainly some shady shit going on in Asia because you're telling me they're the best team in Asia.
Well, they're in their kind of group themselves. Then like, I know that the kind of the as it were the Arab countries they kind of have their own kind of like qualification group because I think they've got their own federation.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
what I'm
and
saying is
the
that
Asian
Qatar,
court as well. Yeah.
yeah, they're the current Asian champions.
Mm.
Um,
Well,
really?
what's also what the shady shit is that like they've been hosting the Asia Cup for the last three competitions in a row. So
Okay, there you
they've
go.
hosted the Asia Cup like three as it were 6 years in a row. So like yeah. And I think they've also got a kind of ownership of the under 19s World Cup for the next two runs around as well. So they're guaranteed to
Okay.
be in Qatar one way or another. So yeah, they basically are just said like, listen, we are just basically a football theme park. Please use our facilities as while we are still this.
Which look, I mean, if they've got good facilities, they managed to pull off the World Cup fairly well. It didn't look like a shambles. I mean, it
Mm,
was a very well run World Cup. That's fine. It's just my thing about it is that like you're telling me this team is better than Japan, is better than South Korea,
yeah,
is better than the
Australia, I'd
other
say. Yeah.
Australia as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
I
Well, I think
I mean, it's
like
two more cups in a row now where they've like kind of shot the bed when they've been inside it. It's like,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean,
yeah,
like at least with the last one, you could arguably say it was the pressure of being the host nation, and then suddenly like being expected to do quite well. And that first game against Ecuador was just such an eye opener of like, oh wow, we are absolutely nowhere compared to the rest of the world. Um, I think much like a lot of the countries in that kind of catchment in those kind of confederations, it's a lot of it down to who they actually have as the coach. So like Qatar would have Julian Lopetegui, for example, who is himself a very, very good football coach. But it's the same with I suppose it's the kind of same sensation of like if you're managing the Saudi Pro League and stuff like that, you could be one of the best coaches in the world, but it's like, are you able to actually bed in what you want to do with who you're working with?
I mean,
You
the only
know?
manager who's managed to do that change well is Xavi.
Yeah,
He's the only one that's managed to kind of go from there to Europe with
yeah.
Barcelona, one of the biggest teams in the world. And was it two league titles or one league title that he ended up winning?
One league title, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he's not a slouch. You know, what
Yeah.
he's doing at the moment, I don't know. It seems like that he's in a bit of a no man's land because really there's not a lot of jobs around the place. I think he was probably banking on the United job. Is my
It's hard to
guess.
say because, like, again, a lot of
Yeah,
those kind of big like one club players sometimes when they get the job for their own place, they don't really make sense anywhere else. It's like with Zidane.
they don't really.
Yeah,
Yeah. It'd be like if Gerard, like the only one who I can think of that has made sense somewhere else has been Lampard.
Lampard. Yeah, exactly.
Lampard has seemed to have done a decent job. He did a decent job at Derby. He did a decent job. He's got Coventry to the Premier League.
Yeah,
Um, he did a half decent job at his first spell at Chelsea, and he managed to save everything from relegation that year. But obviously, that the wheels fell off that
yeah,
eventually,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
kind of had to change it. But like, yeah, it's one of those. Qatar is just one of those teams that's probably always going to make it, and
Mm.
it's the new Saudi Arabia, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well,
Um,
even the Saudi Arabian team, I don't think have been terribly bad either. Like, I think they actually did quite well against Uruguay. We'll get to that group when we get to that group eventually.
yeah,
But again, I think one of the certain teams, and we're going to talk about kind of overarching themes in the second half of the show. But that will be part of my conversation. Is that like a 48 World Cup is not the diminishing return that people have expected, and we'll get into it as time goes by.
yeah, it hasn't
Certainly,
been really. I mean,
yeah,
they we all could have expected it to be worse, but we've had. I mean, you got teams like Cape Verde
mm,
or Cabo Verde. That's their actual name.
yes,
Um, they've managed to pull out 2 points in their games,
mm.
and barring, are they playing the Saudis next?
The Saudis next on
They could
Friday.
be they could be very well out of that group. Um, you have one of the other smaller nations.
Well,
Jordan haven't been
Curacao,
great and stuff.
Curacao
Yeah,
got the first point. I mean, Haiti have not been
yeah,
bad. Yeah, but they've just been in a very, very tough group.
yeah.
Case in point, actually, Group C, which is at the moment being shared between Brazil and Morocco. Very good game, actually. One of my preferred games from the group stage so far was Brazil Morocco, which is very much like that is a kind of quarterfinal quality type of match, especially considering how where Morocco is at the moment and where Brazil have been on a downward spiral for the last kind of 12 years, really, since a
Mm.
particular scoreline, which we'll talk about later. But Morocco was one of those ones where Morocco is a grander project and it kind of leads on in a sense. There's been a lot of articles been done about how the World Cup in 2034 or 2030, I should say, is essentially a project to try and make Morocco the first African World Cup winners. This is ultimately what the grand design is. And when you look at how there is a genuine crop of young players coming into the Moroccan team, and they're all, I would say, world class or potentially world class players, you can see that that's actually kind of worked out. It's almost like the project that Qatar wanted to do with the Aspire Academy has actually happened in Morocco.
It's actually
Um,
happened in Morocco. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
and the
worked
grand
out
and
well
the
for
grand
them.
irony is that they missed out on the one star player they would have had in that team, which was Lamine Yamal. So
Yeah, that's yeah. They must be kind of going. All right, this is going well, but it could have been better.
yeah, it could have been
It could have
better.
been a
It
little
could
bit
have been
better.
better. But
Yeah.
look, listen, they're still not they're still absolutely not a slouch team at all. I Buwadi has kind of emerged as kind of the really kind of the youngest hot property in the World Cup, I'd say, because he really bossed the Brazil midfield in that first game. And again, he's only 19. Yet another product of this kind of Lille academy that always seems to just generate playmaking
They do
like
seem to
marauders.
they do seem to get like a playmaker like every generation.
Yeah,
I think
it's
they sell them
incredible.
off for like a ridiculous fee. Hazard was the first one. Who was the one after that? I think it was Ben Afrin involved in that as well before Hazard.
Ben
Was he
Arfa
involved
would
in
have
that?
been Nice, I think, but I know the one I was
Was
thinking
he
of was
Nice?
Jonathan
Okay.
David was another one. Like
Oh,
there's
right.
actually quite a few. I'd say there's a few that are kind of not quite the ones I'm thinking of at the moment, but
Mm.
but yeah, the French league are very good for just like generating players like that in a sense. But yeah, so Morocco are kind of cruised through the match against Scotland. Like Scotland will feel very hard done by. They probably should have had at least two penalties in that match.
Mm.
But Morocco kind of had them at arm's length in a sense. They were actually quite good at managing the game, which I think kind of makes them quite dangerous for the rest of the tournament. But Morocco is one of those teams that has actually had a pretty bad run when it comes to the actual draw in a sense, because I think they're due to face the Netherlands, I think, whichever way it works out. So they actually gonna want to top the group to try and get a better run of it.
Yeah,
So they will actually want to kind of beat Brazil for goal difference, really. Speaking of Scotland, then are they will presuming it's not a hammering and other results go their way in other groups, they will get to the next round, which I believe will
yeah,
see them face Mexico. Scotland are a wonderful one though, where like Scotland are basically us analogs in a sense. Where like we're there for the crack
yeah.
essentially, and they're getting all the positive headlines that like we would have got, and they're a fatally
Drinking
flawed team like we are.
and their fans literally drinking Boston Dry.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
soon Miami as well.
So Miami, but see, with Miami, it's not a big drinking town. But when you manage to get the pubs to say they outdrank us
Yeah,
on Paddy's Day, it's like that's not normal. Like
no,
any
it's
other
not.
city, fine, but out drinking Irish Americans in Boston on Paddy's Day
Hmm.
is that's like winning the World Cup.
That's impressive.
drinking, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
You won't beat that. Like, I mean, they got tenants as well over there because they were like, you should get this.
Yeah.
And they got a load of tenants over it. That was gone. That was
I
taken
think
out.
it's better things to drink, I'll be honest. But yeah, I absolutely see what you mean.
But
Um, yeah.
it was like they drank all these pubs out. Sam Adams being the big one that they can't keep up with the demand that the Scottish fans are putting on them. And even at that, no matter how much they're drinking, there's still Bud Light there because
Yeah.
even they've got standards. They'll drink anything, but even they won't drink Bud Light.
Yeah. I
So
mean, let's be
that is
fair.
quite funny.
That's not alcohol. That's like a Jonathan
Piss water.
Frakes version of booze. It never happened. It's false. This one is the invention of a writer. Um,
Yeah.
and do you know what? Again, I kind of feel a bit sad for Haiti in a sense because this was such a poison chalice for them. But I actually don't think they were that bad. Like again, they kept Scotland fairly honest in their game, kept Brazil relatively honest as well, even though I'd say the scoreline was about fair. We'll see what they're like
Mm.
now against Morocco, but I think Morocco again are probably reading the tea leaves a little bit and saying we could probably want to pick our battles here, prefer one type of match over the other. So they might want to put a bit of punishment on Haiti, but we'll see in that one. Group D then is the one with the US in it, and they're currently topping the group with Australia second and Paraguay third, separated by goal difference. So they'll be fighting it out for second place, and whoever's third will more than likely get to the next round. Turkey are almost certainly out, and they couldn't be more fucking out at this stage. They're
They
actually the
couldn't.
first eliminated from the competition.
Yeah. That that thing you had beforehand has not worked out for you.
It's actually incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it was like 26 shots in two matches and no goals. Like at that point, after the second match happens, you just be like, thank God there's only three. I
yeah.
can't stay here for another game of me getting 13 shots in there. That's still not
It
scoring.
is quite remarkable in a sense where like okay like taking the US out of the equation a little bit like this group flatters the US quite a bit, but that doesn't hide the fact that they've actually played some very good football. I think a lot of people who have been watching the game in person and watching the kind of like the how they are off the ball and how they're pressing is very much all said the exact same thing, which is they are a Mauricio Pochettino team. They're showing all the hallmarks. They're doing the pressing. They're doing the high energy like teams don't tend to win competitions, but they tend to do well enough, which is kind of what the
Yeah.
US really want in a sense. Like I don't think
I
they'll
mean,
play,
the
but
US would probably be happy to get to the quarterfinals and at least say that they had gave it a go.
yeah,
Um, I mean, some of their fans are delusional, obviously, because they think they can actually win the whole fucking thing.
yeah.
They won't, obviously. I mean, Jesus. But
But again, they've got
I
a
mean,
pathway that gets them to the quarterfinals quite easily. Like they're like it's not
and
they say
and
they,
if the pathway works out from even at that point, there's a possibility that they might make the semis,
yeah,
which would be a decent achievement. It's just it's you don't want Donald Trump to be happy. He's going to be
yeah,
happy, even though he
that's
has
it.
no idea what's going on.
It's kind of like the same thing when we see England doing well at the competition. Once you see they're eliminated, we can breathe and relax, then relax, enjoy the rest of the tournament, knowing that it's one of our other European brethren that will take the trophy home, or Argentina, we like them too, or Brazil, we'd also like them too.
Yeah,
Um,
we kind of like the Argentinians. I like
um,
Messi. I don't really like much of the rest of that team.
yeah,
Messi and
exactly.
Martinez, the only two players I like.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, like I said, the US, I'd say out of the three home nations, they've probably been the best out of them. They certainly don't look out of place like they normally do at a World Cup, where they're kind of playing really
No,
tedious football. They're actually playing good football, where their players are looking good and sharp and they're fit and they actually Reyna, there's a tune being played out of him. He's actually playing really well. And Pochettino seems to have this great ability to make the most kind of like moodiest player play well. Like he got a tune of
it's
Deli Ali
the
for years, and this is exactly the same with
yeah.
Reyna.
And the thing with Reyna as well is like his family are absolute melts and have not had a great history with the upper echelons of US football. And
No,
there was a big thing coming out. His dad tried to get him to leave because who's the other good attacking midfielder? Not Pulisic. Who's the other one they have? It's another young fellow.
would have been
They have
McKenny
one. I think so.
or Yunus
It might have
Musa.
been somebody else. It might have been someone else. But there was a big thing a couple of years ago where his dad threatened the last manager, who was the last
Yeah,
manager before Pochettino. He wasn't well
Berghalter, I
liked
think it
either.
was. Yeah,
Yeah, he threatened him apparently that if you don't play him, I'll get you fired, and he won't play for you ever again. And it
mm.
was I don't think he played for them for a while
About
until
three.
Poch
He was
came
out of
back.
there for about 2 or 3 years, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, and that was the whole thing. So there was a bit of shit houses going on with the parents. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you're getting a tune out of him, might get him a move to a bigger club in the summer. Maybe Tottenham, maybe someone like that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But it's
But
not
I think
for
it also
him for
helps with the
present. Not
US
for
that they
present.
actually have a good striker as well. Because I think that's always been a problem with the US is that they don't have like a good outright team. They have like one or two or three players that are recognizable. Like say, like Clint Dempsey was always their kind of star man for so long, and then and if it wasn't him, then it was someone like, they had Tim Ream at the back or whatever, like whoever, like or
Mhm.
Brian McFadden or something like that. They'd always have a player that is a kind of like their kind of focal point. But being able to declare Balogun and making him the star man in up the front, I think has really helped because name me the last time an American striker has done really, really well on the continent. And they're quite few and far between. And to be fair, I also give plaudits here to Australia as well. I think from what I've seen of the game against Turkey, they just seem like a fantastic counter-attacking outfit. A lot of pace in the flanks. Aaron Kunda is not going to last long at Watford, I don't think. He's going to get picked up by somebody. Um,
Mm.
I think Newcastle are probably looking at the buyback clause and going, shit, we probably could have written one of them. So yeah, I think that's one where they have impressed a lot more than I think people would have expected. Um, Again, because like they're expecting like a known like player to be in the Australian team leading them on. There's no Tim Cahill this time, so there's no one to be invested in. But again, they just seem to have got a good plan and the players to pull it off between Quad and Lyrakunda. So they
I
could actually be.
and that helps as well sometimes for those smaller nations where they don't like Tim Cahill was their guy for years.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Since he's been 19. I
Yeah.
mean, I watched his FA Cup final appearance against United when he played with Millwall.
Mm.
So he's been there that long. He's been there since
Yep.
2003. So it's nice for them to finally get away from it because it does tend to help. He
Exactly.
ushered
Yeah.
in a bunch of new players to come in at a youth level.
Mm.
Now they're a solid unit that want their team to do well, and they
Mm.
don't have to play around a Tim Cahill or whatever. Like
Yeah.
Ireland never really had that problem. The last time we did really was like what the 70s with Liam Brady. After that,
Well,
we always had
Giles,
a good
Giles in
core.
particular, yeah. Giles and Sheedy, yeah.
Giles, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
Giles, yeah, I keep mixing the two of them up. But Giles, yeah, so it's that that's their Giles. Now he's
Mm.
gone. They're hitting their Jack Charlton era in a sense,
Yeah.
where it's a solid team that they're all decent to great players and
Mm.
they work well as a unit. And that's all you
Yeah.
really want when you get to a World Cup when you're a side like them. You just want to just make sure that you actually like get in there and just play good football and not
And they have
embarrass everyone in the
having a
process.
plan, I think, helps as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But
Like, yeah.
yeah, but I think that's been kind of Turkey's downfall in a sense. And I think Turkey, much like myself, I think kind of bought into the hype a little bit too much and looked at the kind of the starting 11, looked at like they had like Vincenzo Montella like as their manager and thinking this is actually genuinely a good project. Like they walked the qualifiers, and they do have the attacking outfit to do it. They're a very young team, very like like again they've walked like underage football as well to a certain degree. They have the players there to do it. I think it is that kind of thing where like maybe you can make the argument that like somebody could have pulled these lads aside and said, "Hang on, we do actually need to play good and play with like some sort of
Mhm.
idea." Like I mean, like you look at the kind of profile of the team and like the I suppose the elder statesman would have been Çalhanoğlu, which again not known for his leadership skills, I'd say. So Yunchu, I'd say probably yeah, he would be the kind of the main the another kind of voice in the dressing room as well. Just they just haven't been loud enough, and that kind of very very raw attack like forward line that they have between Yilmaz, Yildiz and Guler, they just haven't delivered. Just really really bad finishers,
Yeah.
and I think they really should be disappointed with themselves. I think if they hadn't lost against Australia. If they hadn't drawn against Australia, I think they would have beat Paraguay, if that makes sense. They were just on a downward
Yeah.
cycle since they lost to Australia.
Yeah.
Because that
But like,
like
I mean,
yeah,
the team is young. They have good players. This might not be their World Cup, but the next one they might show more in
yeah,
it.
maybe.
But yeah, it's not been a.
I think they've
But
always
I'm kind of,
complained
but
about
I'm kind of
how
shocked.
yeah. I think they've always complained about how pragmatic they are when they get to a World Cup in a sense, because they look at the players they have and go, we should be attacking them all, we should be winning matches left, right, and center. They always, when they do get to a competition, I think again one of the bugbears of their best ever World Cup performance, which is in 2002, was that they were a little bit tedious and a little bit hard to beat. It was like Yes, that's the point. It's that kind of again we're talking about other countries that have kind of like ideological kind of crises at the minute of like how we should play based on what we want to play, and you look at Turkey and go, this is why this is maybe the argument to one of those sides where like if they had a manager, you mentioned Jose Mourinho earlier on, that basically told them, no, don't do that. Go when I tell you to go, as opposed to Montella, who would probably say the opposite and go, fucking come on, lash on the lay lads, um,
Yeah.
maybe they would have got different results. It's impossible to tell. Listen, they might get a bit of catharsis and beat the US tomorrow, but I don't see it happening. To be honest with you, I think they're done. They're three. I mean, not for three. I think. Um, Next up then is Group E, which is the one involving Germany. They are top in the group. That'll be true, obviously. They kind of there's no possible way they couldn't have got out of this group. To be honest with you,
It would have been an absolute fucking disaster if they didn't.
Yeah.
It would have been an insult. They just pack it up. Pack
yeah,
up football after that because they really should be coming out of a group with Curacao and Ecuador and Cote
Ivory
d'Ivoire.
Coast.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Now,
yeah.
that being said, they have not had everything their own way. Again, there at one point it was 1-1 in that match between them and Curacao. Um, and I think they are very much one of those teams that are kind of flattering to deceive a little bit. Um, they did not deserve to win the game against Ivory Coast. I'll tell you that right now from watching it. Ivory Coast should have won that match, or at the very least drawn it. Germany seem to have a similar issue to a few countries where the starting 11 for the team is worse than their subs bench. Yeah, and I'll expand on that. So, um, Dennis Undav is kind of the topic of conversation in German football at the moment because Nagelsmann is preferring to go with Havertz up front. And again, that's not a particularly bad idea because Havertz is a very, very good player. And he makes a lot of sense with the type of team that they have because you got Verts on one side, Sane on the other, Musiala in the middle, and basically all three of them can kind of like go around each other and wander around each other and to their heart's content. But the problem is when they do try and play to find somebody, they're too fluid. They can't find each other because Havertz wants to play deep and Sane doesn't want to play out wide. Musiala wants to go over there and Verts is kind of stuck in the middle. And in fairness, Verts is probably the best out of those four, the way that everything is set up, because Musiala's only back from injury, Sané's old, and Havertz kind of has his kind of fitness issues as well. The hilarious thing is that once Nagelsmann puts on Undav, there's a focal point of the team, and then they play better. It's mental how like he just like again Undav is just what I would say commonly known as a big fucking lump. He's just there. He just needs to be there. And sometimes some teams just need a focal point and a target. And
Some teams sometimes just need a big fucking hoss up front.
yeah.
And
Do you
just
remember when the
hope
Netherlands
for the
did really
best.
well that one time, and it was Weghorst that was up front for them? You know,
Yeah,
and
because
Weghorst is
Weghorst
yeah, he's a terrible
is not
footballer.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the opposite, right? I think he's great. He's
Mm,
not. He was never, ever, ever a player that was going to get you 20 to 25 goals a season.
no.
But he was a big lump up there if you needed to pip something once every so often, like he did
Yeah.
with United. He wasn't great for United. But again, he's one of those loan signings that we had over the years where I'm just like, oh, fuck, I just fucking love him.
Mm,
He was shy, but he was shy for us.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
scored that one goal against Betis, and he looks like he wanted to just retire there and then because he had completed football. I mean, that's fun. Do you know what I mean? So,
Like
like,
yeah, and that's just it. Like I think like Germany, this German team makes a lot more sense when Undav starts. And again, makes a point that well, it's obviously because Havertz wears down the defense, and then Undav can take advantage of it. Listen, that's his view, and I think he's probably right with some of that.
look, they've gotten
Yeah,
2 wins. You know
yeah,
what I mean? The goal difference is
over by
7.
Crook, yeah,
It's
yeah,
clearly working for him, yeah.
yeah.
So,
I will say the player that has actually impressed me the most is Nathaniel Brown in the Germany team.
mhm.
He's Bayern. He is bound for Bayern. He's basically the replacement for Alonso Davies in the Bayern team. So he's playing nominally left back, but he also can play pretty much everywhere else. He's one of those kind of utility players.
A
Um,
good old John O'Shea in that squad, and sometimes that's what the squad needs. Is
More of
John
a
O'Shea
Milner,
taking about.
I'd say. More of a Milner, like because I
I'm
think
going
he's
with
yeah,
John O'Shea. Literally played everywhere.
yeah. To be
I
fair,
think
yeah.
he may have. I mean, I think he may have one appearance in every single position on a football pitch.
I think he would be too far off it now. I think because
It
Milner only
wouldn't be
only
too
has to
high,
play
but
goalkeeper. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
the
I
reason I
mean,
said Milner was more to do with the work rate, was to do with the fact that like he is an engine room midfielder converted to be a left back, and that's when the company really enjoys is basically kind of doing the kind of Guardiola kind of like gambit and saying, right, you think you know your best position, but you're wrong. I'll put you here instead. And Brown has basically found himself at left back in preparation for this move to Bayern, which he presumably is going to go to. So he's been very good. I think he's added a dimension to the German kind of defense that they haven't had really since Lamb. Um, Again, because Kimmich is still in the team and he's kind of playing this kind of hybrid number six right back role, it exposes them very easily. So now they have another kind of threat on the other side is going to help matters. Again, on the topic of like really disappointing teams, Ecuador have been terrible. And there's no real nice way to say it. They have been very, very disappointing. Much in the same vein
Seen one of them, to be
as
fair.
Turkey. Well, like they got their pants pulled down by Ivory Coast late on, and they got held to a draw by Curacao, which had with the wonderful record of the most saves ever by a World Cup goalkeeper by Eli Room, which is great for him
I
and great for
mean,
Curacao.
I didn't think that Tim Howard's record would be beat against Belgium, but look, here we are.
Yeah, 15 saves in one match. And like I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
that in of itself is a wonderful story for Curacao to redeem themselves after a hammering. But again, they were celebrating the 7-1 because he scored a goal.
Mm.
It's just the majesty of it, you know. And Ecuador, they're not going to get you to the next round. They're going to have Germany next, and more than likely going to get absolutely trashed. So that kind of helps the
Yeah, as it
permutation there.
stands, because Google are updating it as it goes along. I've been keeping up with it kind of sometimes that way.
Yeah,
They're out. Like
they're out
as it
there.
stands,
Yeah.
they're out unless they get some sort of miracle over the Germans,
I
which
think that they'd have to win. They'd have to beat Germany to get through,
yeah.
unfortunately. And again, that would really fuck up Czech or Bosnia in particular. So it's either Bosnia or
Mm.
Ecuador really from that side. Group F has been fun, I have to say. It's probably been my favorite group of the lot. Netherlands, Japan, and Sweden, and it's also the most of the group I've seen of the World Cup so far. The 2-2 between Netherlands and Japan is quite literally a game of two halves. The first half was absolutely dreadful, and the second half was absolutely brilliant. And again, much like the conversation about we were having with Germany, this Netherlands team, when like I'll give an example of the starting trio up front for like the Netherlands in that game was Malen, Gakpo, and Somerville. And Somerville has been good. I won't say that they haven't been terrible or anything like that. But when Brian Brobby is on the pitch, Netherlands are totally different. And if you don't believe me, look at the match he had against Sweden where he annihilated them 5-1. And again, Sweden are
Mm.
not a bad team whatsoever. They're very open, they're very attacking, but my God, they had their pants pulled down against the Netherlands. And a lot of that had to do with Robbie being essentially an absolute battering ram up front, but in a different style to like the big lumps I was talking about. He kind of does it if I don't know if you can describe a target forward that works on the ground. I don't know if there's a term for that yet. Maybe we should come with it that we should have a term for that. Like,
It's the Bromley position.
yeah,
Liverpool
I don't know.
Makalele basically created the DM. I
Yeah,
mean, the way he played, that's his new position now. Get on the floor
yeah,
and just stay there.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah. It does. He's such a unique player, and I think like it's that sort of thing where like he makes everyone play better then by association, you know?
Like again, he was one of the strikers that Ten Hag actually wanted at United, and
Yeah.
United refused to sign him because
Mm,
they found he was too expensive. Again, that doesn't hold fucking water. They paid nearly 100 million for Anthony at that
mm,
point. So whatever the fuck's going on there.
yeah.
But it was one of a handful of players that I think Ten Hag wanted to bring in account for the rest of it. But I remember him specifically being like, he wants him, he'll work, and
Mm,
he'll work in the Prem. And they didn't believe he would. Then Sunderland got him, and he's had a great season in the Premier League, and I was
yeah.
able to go work up. Like, it's worked. So Ten
Mm,
Hag was right for
yeah.
something at least. So I mean, just he won't be Sunderland for long.
No, I don't
They
think
won't
so
have to
either.
sell him. To be fair, I mean, if I'm assuming if some ludicrously large, like 70 million pound offer comes in, they probably be like, "All right, fair."
Fine,
But I
twist my
mean,
arm, why don't you?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, he's got more. He's got at least one more season of Sunderland. If he doesn't shit the bed in the second season and puts on some good performances in Europe, he's going to go somewhere big, like
Yeah.
Barcelona or something eventually. Do you know what I mean?
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, no, they've been very good. Again, I think Sweden are a bit harsh to be third in this group, but again, being smashed 5-1 doesn't help really. Um,
Yeah.
like a lot of these teams, the three teams in this group, like that are going to get through, which is Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, they all have got something about them, but they also have like massive flaws as well. Like the Netherlands, you could say are very, very dependent on Van Dijk being good in defense. Like because basically the way they're doing it is that Van Dijk is basically the one that stays behind and Van de Ven is the one that chases, which makes total fucking sense. Van de Ven is is one of the best
Yeah.
tracking back in the world. Geez, the guy could literally do a 70-yard fucking sprint, score a goal himself. He is that good.
I've
Um,
I don't worry, I don't forget that game against Spurs where he just decided to just basically run the whole pitch. No one tackled him, but he ended up scoring
Like
one of the better goals I've
he
seen
must have
against
Irish
United in that
heritage
couple of
because that is shit like fucking Dublin hurlers do. Like I've seen TJ
years.
Reid do that for
Yeah,
Kilkenny. Like he has to have some Irish blood in him. Like just get into Nafina and see what happens. That's all I'm saying.
yeah,
But I'd also say as well in like Coleman, I think is not the best tactician in the world. I think he kind of like he is quite like standard Dutch coach in a sense, but he is getting the best out of Cody Gakpo as well, who's had a pretty shit season for Liverpool. And I've been very critical of Gakpo. I don't like it. I haven't liked this iteration of Gakpo when under slots, but the Gakpo I've seen against Sweden is exactly the type of player we've been missing. Is like, actually, no, you can do more than just cut inside. You actually can do everything you want on that left hand side. You got a really, really good touch, and you've got great like power in the shot. You just need to fucking use it. You need to just be very much more effective with it. And two goals for Somerville as well. So like that's
yeah.
him definitely not playing in the championship next season either. Like that in itself is a bit of an injustice, but that's just the way West Ham is for you. Um, and one note on Japan as well. Ueda or Yeda, if you prefer, Ayase Ueda, who is the top goal scorer in the Eredivisie this year, is already on 2 goals for Japan. I would be expecting him to possibly cause a bit of a surprise for Sweden, mainly because Japan are missing basically the three most prominent players. They're missing Matoma, they're missing Endo, who is essentially retired from Japanese from the national team now because of his injury, and they also lost a player, Kubo, from the in the Netherlands game
Yeah.
as well. So the three main players now are out of the team. And now it's now Kamada from Crystal Palace fame and Ueda now are starting to step up now to be the kind of main players of that team. Again, very much a similar parts. Japan has always been a team that does really good at World Cups because there is no superstar. They all work for each other. So I'm
Yeah.
very intrigued with how they get along. Um, I feel sad for Group F because, like, basically, whichever place they end up, they get a horrendous draw in the round of 32. Like, so basically, whoever tops the group is going to get Morocco, more than likely. Whoever gets second is likely going to get Brazil, and whoever is in third is likely going to get France. So,
Oh, when they're off on.
so they're all fucked. Like, it's such a shame, like, you know. But look, maybe some other groups might go their way as well. Group G has been tasty. Another one I've seen quite a bit of is Egypt currently leading Iran and Belgium on 2 points, and Iran are second at the moment by goal scored, because Belgium have only got technically have got no goals on the board because the one they had in Egypt was an own goal, and they're currently sitting third. Belgium have been terrible as well. There's no really nice way of saying it. This
I knew
goal generation
Belgium
long
were going
since
to be
gone.
fucked. I knew
Mm,
Belgium were going to be fucked when that clip of Lukaku came out at training and he was missing. He's just doing shooting
yeah.
practice and he didn't get a single goal in like 10 shots. It was like, oh, they're not going to be good. I don't care what else happens here, but if your main striker can't even put the ball in the net in training when the
Hmm.
goalkeeper's not supposed to try that fucking hard, it was like, oh god, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
their golden generation is dead now.
yeah, it
Devastated
is.
goal at
Yeah.
this point.
And the problem is as well. Like this is a group that really were designed for Belgium to walk. And like I said, Egypt are no slouches in a sense, but again, it's a lot of it is dependent on Salah being world class.
Mm.
But to Egypt's credit, a lot of it has been about the other players stepping up. Now, Salah's provided the assist for Ashur in the Belgian game, but a lot of it has been about Marmoush. It's been about Trezeguet. Zico has emerged as a top player now as well in this team. So Salah
I'm
is
sorry. There's a fella in the Egypt side called Zico. Why is
Mustafa
he not
Zico,
playing
yeah.
right wing? Yeah, why is he not playing right wing for the Brazilians? That's a Brazilian name.
Well,
That's the man who's supposed to be just doing 50 million step overs and then getting a shite shot off, but somehow falls in love with makes you fall in love with football. What's going on here? I don't like this.
Would you prefer if I gave him? Would you prefer if I went with his proper name, which is Mustafa Mohammed Zaki Al Abel Rauf, or would you prefer me to just call him Zico?
I'm gonna give you credit for that one because you definitely learned that off beforehand, so you could
I
rattle
actually
off.
didn't.
I know his name
I'm
is
literally
Pooh.
looking at his name I was talking here.
You could have lied there. You could have lied there. It's like when you're younger, you can pronounce a Pooh's name in The Simpsons, a Pooh that has to be the Petal without like fucking it up entirely.
Um, you won't notice, but like there's obviously with me enjoying my F1, I also watch the F2, and there's a Thailand uh driver. I will send the name for you, and give you one go at this name and see what and see what you do. Right? Hang on now. This is not going to make sense for audio listeners, but let's just enjoy Aaron butchering this name.
Where are you gonna send it?
It's you're gonna get it just there now. Yeah,
Tasnapal. So that's the first one anyway. We got that one right.
yeah.
Intrahovasic?
Tasanapol and Chabuvasak. Not bad. That was actually pretty good.
Huvasak, yeah.
Chabuvasak. Yeah.
Okay. That
Yeah.
actually wasn't that bad. That could have been
Yeah.
worse.
That's not bad.
I was expecting some like really long, like fucking six middle name type names, but no, that's actually bizarre.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just you can see it's because there's so many letters in it that you can see the graphic just kind of like struggling to load. It's like yeah.
It's just staring at the corner. Is that a fucking couple of A's
Yeah.
inside it? Jesus.
I mean, it's
the
not
only
really
names
on.
I've ever.
It's
The
nothing on
only
Chelsea
names I've
players
ever.
like getting fed up with saying Aspilicueta to just call them Dave. I mean, that's pretty. Yeah.
That is funny, yeah. The only names that ever actually like because I've worked in call centers for so long and you'd see every name under the sun. The only names that have ever actually thrown me and I still can't get used to is a lot of Polish second names because
Yeah,
there's a
that's
lot of
fair.
K's and stuff like that. Other than that, I can generally get a name sort of right.
Yeah.
Mainly down to the fact as well as you learn customers actually for at least Indian and all those lads. If you make it a genuine attempt at it, you win them over almost instantly.
Yeah, that's
You're
fair.
like, that's
Yeah.
it. You know, you could just tell them that their stuff is blown up and they're not getting their money back. And it's like, oh well, okay. Okay,
That's fair. That's fair.
Um,
But yeah, so I'm going back to Group G then. So Belgium are currently like at risk of getting eliminated because they do play New Zealand next in the last game. Egypt and Iran can kind of draw a little bit and get away with it to a certain degree. Iran might want to win the
fair
group.
fox to Iran as well with all the shit they're going through,
Yeah.
and they're still managing to have a shot to get into the second round. I got a really good shot too. I mean, as long as they don't completely fucking bottle the last game.
Yeah, that's
They will
the
get
other part
through
of it
that.
as well. Like this group is actually is tighter than it looks because you could make in a very roundabout way. If Iran beat Egypt, then that really fucks up Belgium because then Belgium are kind of stuck with the goal difference as well. And again, this New Zealand team is kind of better than it comes across because they gave Iran quite a good game. They gave Egypt quite a good game as well. Again, if we're talking about great names, Elijah Just has been a bit of a breakout star for New Zealand. You know, apparently you can only be a New Zealand striker if you have four letters in your name. So Chris Wood is out and Elijah Just is in. Elijah Just, who has been very good for Motherwell this season. So he won't be staying in Scotland long either.
Who was the lad in that team that got all the followers on Instagram?
That was Tim Payne, I believe.
Tim Payne, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the
funny stories. That's the only player. Yeah, that's the only player I know from that team.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Chris Wood's the other one, but like, you know, I thought I just assumed Chris Wood started up front of them, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Moving on into Group H, which is one I've been emotionally invested in personally. They currently see Spain that is first, Uruguay second, and Cape Verde third, Saudi Arabia fourth. But that does not tell the whole story.
No, it doesn't.
Cape Verde have managed to get 2 draws against Spain and Uruguay, which are probably the 2 teams they were expecting to get absolutely trounced by. And all the eggs have been in the basket against the game against Saudi Arabia. But now, with that, it's likely and very possible that Cape Verde could, depending on how how permutations go, they could very well finish second or even top this group if they annihilate Saudi Arabia.
If they can pull out a win, if they go balls to the wall against Saudi Arabia here, and Spain and Uruguay draw,
yes,
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility to top that group. They get who would they play in the next round if they were to top that group?
If permutations man was correct, they would get Algeria or Austria in the next round.
They're too very doable games.
Yeah,
They're not the worst.
they're not the worst at all. Yeah,
So no, I mean, like, I obviously we have an Irishman in the team
yeah.
who, like, if somebody said if he was 10 years younger, they would have been a Premier League team take him up for a couple of million,
Oh,
like before the
100%. Like this is
before the
that
group even
is
ended.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, fair fucks to them.
yeah,
They could have rolled over. They very much this might not have worked out for them, but I mean they've gone there and they've managed to pull a draw against the two best teams in the group, and are looking increasingly likely to get through.
yeah.
It's just where do they end up?
That's
And
it.
if the
Yeah,
Spain and Uruguay the game does draw and they do beat at least beat the Saudi Arabians, they're getting second at the
yeah.
very least. You know,
Look,
so I mean that's you couldn't hope for a better World Cup. You really can't.
yeah.
It's brilliant.
It's
It's
incredible.
really, really good.
Like and that's the thing as well. Like it's like I think I would like to talk about Cape Verde in the second half of the show anyway. But like just to give a kind of preview of it, like they could not have faced much more like different challenges, as opposed to difficulty, much more different challenges than Spain and Uruguay, where Spain was so possession heavy, playing in front of them, kind of trying to beat them on a technical level, and then just them brute forcing their way out of those kind of challenges. Whereas
Mm.
Uruguay were so kind of fluid and moving around everywhere and trying to outrun them and outpace them and outstamina them, and they were both able to like. Now, granted, there's issues with this Uruguay team, and chances are they will get eliminated based on form. And unfortunately, a lot of it
Mm.
has to do with the fact that it is Marcelo Bielsa leading this team. As much as I adore the man, and as much as I believe in his principles and I believe in what he does as a footballing man, there he is not compatible with this Uruguay squad. I think Uruguay as a country would absolutely like love to have had the Bielsa kind of type as a manager, but these players don't mix with him at all. In fact, they
Yeah,
are kind of scared of him a little bit as opposed to hating him.
yeah, Uruguay have been that team for the last like couple of World Cups where like they have the talent to do more and
Yeah.
they never seem to click right. Like, they get out of a group, but it's
Mm,
always just because they were just lucky, and then they get into the knockout rounds and unless they
yeah.
have a favorable draw in the last 16,
They're like
usually this
potential
time the last
is more than
30.
anything else. Again, it's like in the
Yeah.
Turkey situation where like they make sense on paper, and then when you actually see them play, you think, oh, these guys don't have a plan, and
Mm.
they're very much one of those teams. Like they're kind of the South American equivalent of Belgium for me, where like Belgium have a fantastic starting 11, and if you were to base it just off names alone, you expect Belgium to get to the final four each tournament, but it just doesn't work out that way because
No.
either whatever with just one star isn't aligning for them and they don't get the rub of the green. In Uruguay's case, it's just that they're so self-sabotaging. Like they conceded they were behind for the majority of this game against Saudi Arabia and well for them as well. It was justifiably Saudi Arabia were probably playing better football for most of the game. Uh to the extent where like once Darwin Núñez went off the pitch, Uruguay played so much better, which I think is very much a warning for all those people saying that he's coming back to Liverpool. Yeah, no, that ship sailed with that match against Saudi Arabia. That was evidence that like that ain't gonna fucking happen.
That
And
would have
then
been very funny though if
it
he
would have been
went
very
back to
funny.
Liverpool
But
after the season.
oh,
Because
listen,
like I mean he
I love
wasn't.
him as a footballer. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoy his work, but like no, the ship has sailed. And then with the Cape Verde game, just an absolute a hospital pass to end all fucking hospitals. That resulted in the Cape Verde equalizer. So yeah, like I said, they were just so self-defeating, and I can't see them getting anything against Spain. If they get a draw against Spain, I think that'll make Bielsa's day, to be honest with you, because it actually would possibly get them to the next round anyway, just off goal difference. We didn't even with the groups then. Group I, this has been another fun one as well. I think we mentioned, kind of referred to this as the group of death.
But by the way, just a quick one there again in the Group H.
Yeah,
That's only Spain's third or fourth victory since they won it in 2008.
that's right. Yeah, they've been kind of
That's
underperforming. Yeah.
mad. That is absolutely mad that they've only
Hmm.
gotten 3 wins of the World Cup since.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just a fun stat that I found off it. I just like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah,
No,
because
they've been in the woods
have,
for a long time until Yamal and Williams kind of came into the team in the Euros. And obviously Razabal kind of coming in as well. So again, the new generation is now in the Spanish team and is kind of making them starting to click. So whether they can go all the way, I think is what's kind of up for debate at the minute. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Group I, France, Norway, Senegal. I think all three of them are expected to go. I know Senegal haven't got any points on the board yet, but they have a rack last, and they will more than likely need to beat them well in order to get their punch or ticket to the next round. But it's been a fun group. I mean, France, Senegal, like didn't really disappoint in that sense. It was actually really, really fun game to watch. Um, the goal line flattered France a little bit, I want to say, because again, it wasn't much happening in the first half. Then Mbappe just switches it on. It's actually quite frustrating watching Mbappe because he looks like he can do so much more on a football pitch, and then once he is actually on full guns, he is the best in the world. It's so frustrating watching him play because he should be able to do that all the time. He should be able to just like score 3 goals a game and like make it impossible for everyone else to follow. But he just can't do it or won't do it. I don't know what the inner dynamics are for him at Real, but in this French team version of Mbappe is the best version. Like he is one of those rare ones where I think he plays better for his country than he ever plays it for a club. I don't know. There's probably a few exceptions to that rule, I'm sure, but as terms of a high profile one, he definitely is one of
Yeah,
like
I mean, we did call it in the last one that I thought he would be the Ronaldo type of player to maybe fuck this team over, but it
yeah.
doesn't seem to be working out that way. I mean, if he got 3 World Cups in a row, being you know more class, and they make another semi-final at the very least,
Mm-hmm.
his club
Exactly. Yeah.
stuff will kind of be overshadowed. I mean, unless he gets a Champions League, to say in your first 3 World Cups you made it 2 finals,
Mm-hmm.
won your first final, score a hat trick in your second final. Granted, didn't win because the gods were just with Messi that day, and
Yeah.
make at least the final this time. That's mad to be a focal point of the team 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Messi couldn't achieve that. Ronaldo hasn't been able to achieve that. Maradona didn't even achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
Pele is like the closest one to him, really,
But
in
what I
terms
would
of.
say is what I would say about is like but France by no means is just a one man team. I think that's
Oh,
actually what's
don't
quite the
I know?
doctrine.
I know that, yeah, but his presence is
Yeah.
so big.
Mm.
That's what saves him, I think, because
Yeah.
he's not Messi. I suppose is the same. He's so much talent around him. He kind of doesn't need to be the focal point of that team, even though
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
is. But it's not like a Ronaldo situation where,
Mm.
although Portugal do have a good team, his presence just
Is
overshadows
overbearing. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
everything. And we'll talk about that later on, and I'll
Yeah.
talk about it as well. But yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, it's mostly with the French. The French team is so fascinating in a sense because, like, they, in a weird way, they don't have the selection headache anymore because Ekitike is injured. So the French team kind of plays it like picks itself. But I think it, as daft as it sounds, I think that the after Mbappe, the next name of that team sheet is Rabiot. Because I think he's the one that actually does make this French team
how
tick.
how the fuck is that man still playing as a focal point of a French team when I don't think he's.
He's in
If
the
you
focal
told me
point
he
from
hadn't played,
Marseille.
yeah, like if you told me he hadn't played football properly in the last 4 years, he's played with no club, and he still manages to get it, I believe you.
Yeah.
Because I know he plays with Marseille, because you just said it. I didn't know he played with Marseille before
Mm.
that. I just assumed he was in Saudi Arabia. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
assumed he was playing there because it just mentally it made the most sense in my head. But he does manage to sort of just stick
Yeah.
around.
But this is the
Um,
whole principle of the French team. That's why I think that's why they are such a good World Cup team. Is that like they don't like yes they have an embarrassment of resources and talent at their disposal that they can leave world class players at home because they have too many in that position. But there's also an aspect of like if we picked all of our superstars, if we picked all the luxury midfielders that they had, then there would be no engine room in a sense. So I think now we also have
mm,
Rabiot, but it's also we have Kone now alongside Rabiot, who's now doing that same job. And he was he was okay in the he didn't play in the Senegal game. He played in the Iraq game. And he was good. Like he was making the kind of same kind of runs and movement that Rabiot does. But it's quite evident where like now that they have like a fully complete quartet of attackers in Barcola, Elise, fucking Dembele and Mbappe, that they actually do need 2 players to kind of to do that same job as opposed to Rabiot just being one. So that team was already
mm,
evolving because they don't have the same width as they did back then. Like Digne is still their top choice left back. Which is why like Pavard
Jesus.
used to get such a Pavard was still their first choice right back for a long time. Now they got Koundé out there instead, or Gusto from Chelsea. And Gusto's not a particularly good right back, I don't think, but he will make sense in this French team
Yeah.
because the rest of the kind of the redundant parts make sense. Um, let's talk about Norway. Norway has been was kind of the X factor for me in this World Cup as well because with any of these kind of teams, much like we talk about Turkey and stuff like that, makes sense on paper, but we need to see them in person. they've kind of shown up, really, haven't they? Like they look like
Hmm.
they're here to stay. Like it's they're looking pretty good.
They
Like
yeah, from all of what I've seen of them, it hasn't been a lot. They've been very good. The
yeah,
worry that it was going to be the Haaland show hasn't really worked out. It went on a
mm,
bad way, obviously.
yeah.
No one's really talking about Erling Haaland.
He's flying
Like
under the radar a little bit. Yeah,
he's flown completely under the radar. So it's made life, I think, for them much easier
yeah.
in a sense. So I mean, I still don't think they'll go that far. I think I'd pick them to go to the quarters or the
I
16, I
will.
think.
I'm now revising my kind of suspicion that they might get to the
I still,
quarterfinals.
yeah, they'll probably tap out there. But I mean, still,
Yeah,
they're doing well. It's
yeah,
all you want from them. You don't want them to embarrass themselves and have all this pressure and then not go along with it.
yeah.
So I mean, fair fucks to
I
them.
think if Odegaard still it keeps himself sharp, and and there's enough support for Haaland between Strand Larson and all the other players that are in that kind of group like Bob and stuff like that. I I don't see why he couldn't go any further. But again, it really does depend on who they get as well, because I think they were on that kind of proverbial worst side of the draw. So they'll be end up
Mm.
facing teams like England and Brazil after a while. So we'll have to wait and see. Group J then, probably the dullest one of the group, really, bar the Lionel Messi show, really. Um, it's actually quite incredible that he is responsible for all the goals in Argentina so far. 5 goals at the age of 39
It's
is not bad at all, is it?
it's nuts. It's
Yeah,
absolutely nuts. It's like, all right, calm down now. Stop it. Stop it.
yeah,
Right? You're fucking making us all. You're making an absolute show of every legend that's ever played the game.
yeah.
At 39, you should be kind of like in the team, but just there to be happy just to be there. You should not be
Hmm.
on form like you were when you were 27
Yeah.
and you were scoring 90 goals in a year. It's like, come on now, stop it.
But yeah, it's isn't it mad that I was expecting this Argentinian team to be the first that's kind of transitioning away from Messi and to like the new players like Alvarez, and Lautaro Martinez and Nico Paz in particular. But in a roundabout way, it's actually kind of worked out the opposite, where this is
Mm.
like yet another little renaissance. Like like Messi has literally picked up where he like left off from the last World Cup, like four
Yeah,
years
literally.
past. It's incredible.
It's just every time you watch, even if you're just keeping up with it on your phone, it's like, oh, Messi scored again.
Mm. But they're also
How
good
is he still
goals.
doing
Like
this?
it's not as if like it's not
Yeah.
like the Ronaldo situation where like they're kind of on a play for him. Like the second goal against Austria was, or the first goal against Austria was unbelievable play. He starts off the attack himself, then feeds the ball out. Almeida, to his credit, who has also been very good, incidentally, Thiago Almeida. He's out in Atletico at the moment, and again, a lot of people are looking at him going release clause question mark. So yeah, again, he like lets it go for Messi, who's just Johnny on the spot. Like starting off the move and just being in the exact perfect place for that is a God-given talent. And
Thiago Almada as well has been a wonder kid on FIFA for a while now.
yeah,
Even at
definitely.
18, he was a wonder kid on FIFA before people even knew him. It's like FIFA just went, yeah, oh no, he's it. You just
Yeah.
watch, he's in. And he has been. He's slowly getting better.
Mm.
Every year there's something new about him. So I would
I,
imagine that there'll be a team there that'll probably fork
I
out
think it
the
helps that he's now in like playing in Europe now as well, because
yes.
he was staying out in the Americas between, like, I think he was at Botafogo 2 years ago. So then he
Mm,
went to Leon then after that. So like he's at least now showing how good he can be in a, as it were, a more kind of like a more watched league, shall we say, rather than more competitive.
yeah.
So yeah, then Austria and Algeria, two fine teams, flawed, I'd say. Austria, I think, are one of those ones that like play high press football and it's doing well up to a point, and then they'll get knocked out. And Algeria, I think, are kind of getting by with their talented players and Mahrez and Guri. They're not long for the tournament either. I don't think personally. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So basically, they will scrap for second place, and
Mhm.
whoever loses will still get through. So it's kind of a win-win, really. Um, Group K then has been more interesting than I thought it was going to be fair. Because Colombia is currently leading the group with 2 wins out of two. Very much the Luis Diaz show to a certain degree. Actually, it's more been the Daniel Munoz show at the moment because he's scored more goals. Um, the The Portugal team has been fun to watch. I watched both their games. I genuinely enjoyed the Schadenfreude or whatever the Portuguese is for that. Watching them draw against Congo because the Congo could have won the match, to be honest with you. Um, and then Uzbekistan really flattered them in the return match then as well. Just pretty much gifting Ronaldo 2 goals really. Um, you know,
which has caused Piers Morgan to be a small cunt more than he is usually
yeah,
on Twitter.
absolutely, yeah.
Uh,
He's obviously the biggest
which
crime
is
of all.
not it's not again anything that makes Piers Morgan happy should be put to death.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
I include Arsenal in
Yeah,
that. So the fact that he was just like, oh, you just watch is going to be brilliant. Like, yes, I fully expect Cristiano Ronaldo, 41, to bang in 2 goals against fucking Uzbekistan.
yeah.
Will he do it against England if he faces them, or Croatia, or any of these other teams that are much better than fucking Uzbekistan?
But I think it was
Like, do
quite
you know what I
telling that,
mean?
like, against Congo, who I'd say are like a lot better than I think people gave credit for, including myself. And I watched a bit of the Africa Cup of Nations this year, and Congo got to the quarterfinals, and they probably could have gone further if they didn't meet Algeria at that point.
Mm.
They're better than they look. They have good experienced players in there. Like I said, they've got Premier League players like up and down the squad. They got two decent strikers, and they do look genuinely quite good. Again, one of those countries that have like used their kind of nationalization quite well to recruit players, and it's making it's making doing the business for them.
And they got Wan-Bissaka as well in there,
They have, yeah.
who didn't get an England call up for ages, which for his time at United, it was kind of shocking because he wasn't exactly bad at United. He never
Yeah.
was bad at United.
I
So the
think
fact
they also
that
had that young lad from Sunderland, Noah Siddiqui, who's gonna tear up trees as well. But he's not even starting in the Congo East team yet because he's only like 2021. So he's still got plenty of way to go. So DR Congo could very well be like one of the next kind of like big forces in African
in
football if they
African
play their
football,
cards
yeah,
right.
that'll be yeah.
Um,
As long as they play the cards right and they don't get too ahead of themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, much to that point, they have to get a result against Uzbekistan to stay in the competition, so I think they will. I don't see Portugal top in the group, to be honest with you. I think Colombia, like, and I'm happy to eat my words later. I think Colombia will probably beat them. Um, Portugal is always one of those kind of frustrating things where, like, they probably do have the best midfield in the competition between Vitinha, Neves, um, João Neves. Sorry, both Neves, João Neves, and Ruben Neves, and Bruno, and Bernardo Silva. So that midfield five is better than any midfield that's out there in the competition. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem is Ronaldo, and if you could play well, Veghorst up there, and I think they'd play better. It is that kind of thing where like he looks so labored and so old and so out of his depth in the game against Congo, and it's only by virtue of the fact that Uzbekistan don't believe defending is their thing that he scored 2 goals. I think it'll be a different job against Colombia, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think Portugal might end up second in that group, which, to be honest with you, is a bit of an underperformance at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see if that works for them. Last group to talk about then is England. England's group against Ghana, Croatia, and Panama. Very much like I think England would be happy enough with this one at the moment because they did very well against Croatia. Not a great Croatian team, to be honest with you. They're definitely much like Belgium on
Yeah,
the way out.
that team is pretty fucking old right now.
Yeah, and
But
Ghana
like,
just
I
just
mean,
it just annoyed the fuck out of them. Yes, like yesterday at time of recording, like it was such a rear guard defense, and yeah, I don't think England will lose sleep over that match, to be honest with you, especially with Panama to follow. So, what do you think about the England outfit? Because, as I said, like England always have this kind of existential crisis at a World Cup where like they should be playing better or worse or whatever. And naturally, the narrative
I
is going to be about the players that left behind in the competition more than anything else.
again, I haven't seen enough of the England team. I just refuse point blank to watch them. I don't like them.
Mm,
I don't want. My fear is that if I watch England play football, they'll start winning, and I
yeah.
can't have that. You know.
Mm,
So that's where most of my issues come from watching them.
mm,
My hope is that they still end up just bottoming
yeah.
but there's this fear in me that they might not, and we kind of just gotta hope that someone does something and just completely ruins their time, which I don't think is
Yeah.
going to happen.
I think that's probably what kind of ruin their time is probably the the ties that they have. Like they are like normally England kind of like looked away into having a fairly easy path into the quarterfinals, but they don't really have that this year because that being said, they are likely going to get Congo in the next round, or depending on what happens,
Mm.
it could very well be someone else. If Colombia have a really bad time against Portugal, it could be Colombia. But either way, they are more than likely going to get a decent round of 32 tie, but then they're more than likely going to meet Mexico in the next round in the Azteca, which is going to be brutal. And more than likely going to meet Brazil in the round after that. So they're not going to have an easy way in a sense. If they're going to win the competition, they're going to be doing it the hard way. Um, Now that being said, I haven't really bought into the kind of the English media hype about or drama about the players that behind like Palmer and Wharton and stuff like that. The only one I would say I would have made an argument for was probably Wharton because he's the only one that is able to play a crossfield ball from where he is on the pitch. And
Yeah,
that
what
probably could have done well
the
against Ghana.
obviously I have my opinions on leaving Maguire at home. I still think that's going to bite me in the front hours.
Mm,
But the only other one that I think has been financially a disaster for him has actually been Palmer
mm.
because he actually signed a deal with Coke because they just assumed he
Oh
would
yeah,
go.
that's right. Yeah.
And then he didn't, and they were like, fuck. We've got an
Yeah.
England player as the face of our brand for the World Cup, and he's not even there. Shit.
Yeah. Not ideal.
God
Not
damn
ideal.
it.
Yeah.
Not ideal for
Well,
them, no.
but that being said, yeah, I still think the England midfield actually makes a lot of sense. I think it's like I've actually quite liked Madueke starting ahead of Saka, and like he's a more kind of conventional winger than Saka is. And it's
Mm.
kind of it makes a certain degree of sense, especially in the Croatia game, because Croatia like are an aging team. I'm not even joking when I say
I
that.
mean, Modric is
Um,
a fucking grandfather at this point. Like,
yeah.
I have already I've seen bits of him,
Mm.
but it's like, oh God, he has
Well, Modric gave away the
is
penalty that scored opened scoring for England. He was it was way too late on the foul. I think it was on Bellingham. I want to say I could be wrong with that, or maybe it was Madueke.
so.
But yeah, he was way too late on the foul, and he has looked a little bit kind of like
He's done. He's
leggy.
done. He's
Yeah,
finished. I mean, look fine if he wanted to go to one more World Cup, but because I mean, like, they don't have a lot of players that would fill his boots.
yeah.
Even at 41 with his legs gone, it's still one of the better players.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Yeah, there's no
yeah,
doubt about that.
it is very much kind of like if he were to retire after this, like outright retire from football after this World Cup, wouldn't be surprised.
And I'd say the same about Perisic as well. Like Perisic
Yeah,
playing his football in Croatia now as well. And he's on a kind of his kind of twilight cruise too. Now, that being said, there are some very, very good young players in this Croatia team. Like Budimir is gonna be a star. He is clearly the heir apparent to Modric, and Butarina, who plays for Como, is kind of basically gonna be his mate in the midfield. So that Croatian midfield is
absolute
clearly being rebuilt.
class player and football manager. Love him.
I knew you got to pop out of that one. But no, but genuinely, like they are the next base of that Croatia team, and they're gonna build on that over the next few years. It'll be interesting to see if they actually can get another like generation of what they had already. It's unlikely, but listen, we
It's one of those things,
yeah,
all right, where they probably will make a World Cup or two. They might miss out on one at some point,
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah,
but like they'll never be like they'll never make another final.
yeah.
That's
That was
essentially what
that
I'm
was the
saying.
chance, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
That was their chance. If they had won it, it would have been one of the best goals. Like it would have been massive for Eastern European football.
yeah,
It's just in
100%.
general for them to do it because it would have been like the Czechoslovakian teams of old and the Hungarian teams of old and
Yeah,
Yugoslavian
exactly.
teams of old. But if it didn't get but like again, it fucked. If it didn't work out for them, it didn't work out for them. I mean, the fact they even made the final itself is just nuts.
It is enough, exactly.
Because
Yeah.
if someone said to you at this like um 2 3 years before that the next World Cup was going to have Croatia in the final, you'd be like, mad. They're good, but they're not that good. And they
Mm.
got there. There's like they might win it. They just
Yeah.
happen to come up against the next generational talent in Mbappe in a final and that insane French squad. So
Mm. But I suppose this is
but
always the
still,
thing about the European kind of teams in a sense is that like one man teams don't typically get to finals in a sense. It does have to be a good generation of players.
yeah,
Again, that Croatian team that got to the final, that centre back like pairing was Domagoj Vida and Dejan Lovren. And Lovren always seems to be kind of one of those people that like kind of looks his way into like great competitions or like finals is like how the
yeah.
fuck does this absolute calamity of a human being end up being a Champions League winner. It doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense. There's something wrong
Who did
about
they win the
this.
Champions League with? Oh, I won it with Liverpool. Shit. Yeah.
Liverpool, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I
But
forgot.
like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he's made Champions League finals. He's made FA Cup finals. He's been in league challenges in a sense, and he's made it to a World Cup final. He because based off the numbers, he would have been up for the Ballon d'Or one year. So like this is how baffling the whole thing is. But is that something where like for that entire 1 to 11, that Croatian team made a lot more sense. So then when you're looking at like say where's the next golden generation coming from? It's obviously Norway is the next one. But the other one that people would have said was probably Turkey. And look what's happened to them. So it
Yeah.
can be a double-edged sword in that sense of having that kind of that billing. So right
But
then,
like
so yeah,
obviously as well with Turkey, like clearly they're a good team.
yes. I think
They're just
they got stuck in their
dumb.
heads, I think. That to me was
They're probably a World Cup below. If they make the next one,
mm,
they could be your dark horses.
yeah.
But right now, no. Like, because clearly, I mean, if you get 13 shots in 2 games,
Mm,
like 26 shots in 2 games, there's obviously something there
yeah.
because you don't just you get that a fluke. So there's something there with them. It's just that they need to
Need
find,
nurturing
they need
essentially.
to get they need to get the right manager in. They need to just build them up properly, get themselves out of their heads. Hope that your man from Madrid manages not to get too far up his own hole
Yeah.
if he does end up playing well in the next couple of
Which
years.
he's at Madrid, so there's no really hope there in a sense.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I think Mourinho might beat that out of him.
That's if he stays
Both
there. I
metaf-
mean, like he is.
both metaphorically
Yeah.
and literally.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, like I mean, there's something there, all right. But yeah, hopefully it works out because I remember that 2002 site. They were very good.
They were very good. They were very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. So, right. So that's our rundown of the groups. So we're going to take a little bit of a breather here with a round of winning 11. Just that you're not be able to see on the edit. So, for those uninitiated, winning 11 is basically our little halftime break. This is obviously more than a halftime break now at this stage. We kind of count the hydration break as part of the whole action.
Watch Aaron fuck this up again at the second spot.
Well, here's the thing, right? You are literally a class of one on this time, so you are literally fighting against yourself here. Okay, so
I don't think you realize that I can still lose against myself.
you can absolutely still bottle it. Like this is the fun bit. So, right. So I had said to you initially, for those uninitiated, winning 11 is our halftime game. I'm going to get my whoever is on the call with me to guess a winning 11 from any given match in history. That is thematically consistent with what we're talking about today. So much like last week, I find people Aaron and Burkbot to talk about the World Cup final from 2022 that was in Qatar, which Argentina won. This one is a little, I wouldn't say it's a little bit obscure, but
which Burkbot managed to completely forget, even though she was with us
yeah.
that day.
But again, it helped when you fucking bottled it, to be honest. Trying to like be smart and like kind of savvy and sensible, and nope, yeah, you kind of screwed it for yourself,
No.
really.
Yeah.
So this one is not a final by any stretch of the imagination. However, it is probably one of the most infamous matches in World Cup history. Because again, there've been drummings. Like you might see double figures every now and then, sometimes in the Women's World Cup, although not in recent history, thankfully. But you do see sometimes in the Men's World Cup with certain minnows that just like they show up and get an absolute hiding. We mentioned Curacao beaten 7-1 by Germany. But that wasn't the first time that Germany beat the team 7-1, as the fine people of Brazil will tell you, that and rather ended their World Cup aspirations as the hosts of the World Cup that year as well. So I'm going to get Aaron to predict the German team that beat that team 7-1 in Brazil. So because you are a team of one here, Aaron, basically I'm going to get you to predict the starting 11, and then I will advise you of your correct choices. So you can do these in any particular order, but it still has to be a sensible 11, and you're allowed to reserve three players as substitutes. So have fun.
Firstly, I'm going to go with Thomas Muller because I'm nearly certain he started that game. Like
Okay,
I'm
you're going for
so
Thomas
sure he
Muller to
scored.
start. So
Yeah,
where are you putting him on the field?
up front. What was that team? Up front, yeah.
So as
I think he
striker
put. I
or
think he's
as a
striker.
striker? Okay, so Muller up front.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, next up then.
Ozil
Mesut
definitely started that game.
Ozil. Okay. And again, same again. Steer me here. Where do you want to put him on the field?
The position that he made his own for years and years and years, centre attacking midfielder.
Number
I
10.
mean,
Okay.
yeah, number 10.
All right.
Yeah. I think we go Philip Lamb. He definitely played in that at left back.
At left back, you're
No,
saying.
yeah. Neuer played in goal.
All right, played in goal. Okay.
Gun to my head, couldn't tell you who was also the goalkeeper for Germany for about 10, 15 years. Tony Kroos probably played in the centre.
You going for Hummels, you say?
No, well, yeah, put Hummels in as a centre back.
Sorry.
Uh,
Who's the other one you were saying?
Tony Kroos in the centre midfield.
Oh, my apologies. Sorry. Okay, so Kroos there.
Yeah, no. So that was going to be my next pick anyway.
Yeah.
Götze in the centre as well.
Say again, Aaron. What was it? Who would you pick?
Götze.
Oh, Mario Götze. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So Götze here as well. Yeah.
Joan Boateng, I think, played in that game.
Okay. And he'll be in central defense, I presume.
Central
Yeah.
defense as well, yeah.
Okay. So now we're
Charlotte
looking
probably
for the
started.
wingers and right back.
Charlotte probably started. I feel like at that point he was still a main part of that team.
Okay.
I don't know whether he played left or right, to be honest. I can't
He was a
remember
left
for the
winger,
life.
so he'd be on this side here. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Draxler? I feel like at that point he was still. Oh no, hold on. Is it Podolski or Draxler? Put Podolski on the right.
But Podolski on the right. Okay. So now
See,
you're
this is now. I
yeah.
have no idea who played right back with this team, so I'm just going to go with Gintner because I have absolutely no idea who was right back on that side.
Okay. Right. Fair enough. And who are you picking as your subs?
Schweinsteiger, Kadira, and Draxler.
Okay. And just leave him here on the side here. Okay then. So that is your team. So you're going with Neuer in goal, Hummels, Boateng, Lamb, and Ginter. Midfield three of Kroos, Götze, and Ozil, and a front three then of Muller, Podolski, and Schürrle. So, right then, if you see them flash up in yellow, they are the correct answer.
Boom. If I get 8 from this, I'll be happy.
Basically, if you get more than half, I think you consider as it's successful. Yep, that's it.
Fuck.
All right then. So,
hold on. Who got to them start that game? Did he play in that game? He definitely played in that game, though, didn't he?
Götze scored the winner in the World Cup final.
Don't you worry. I remember he scored the winner in the World Cup final.
Yeah.
I won €500 from it. So don't you fucking worry. I remember that.
So I'll go through it here. First of all, you got one of the subs right, which was Julian Draxler. He did come on in this game. But we'll go through what are the incorrect picks. So Matthias Ginter, you were right because again he is a centre back, but he has played kind of across the back line in the past. He did not feature in this game, so he is automatically out. What might have been throwing you off
What's
is that actually Philip Lam was playing on as right back in this game.
okay?
And again, this is a bit of a weird one because there was no natural left back in this German outfit. So it was actually Benedict Hauedes who played
I
on the
would have
left.
never have gotten that in a million years.
Yeah, he was a Schalke stalwart for a long time. Very much a Yogi Low kind of player. Just did exactly what he was told essentially, and kept his fucking mouth shut. So yeah, he completes that back line there. So your midfield,
I have this
yeah.
feeling I should have picked Schweinsteiger or
Well,
Kadira.
so here's where we're going wrong here. So Götze didn't feature. Charlotte was a substitute in the game.
Right.
So he did score 2 goals in the game, which is probably what's throwing you off. So he was actually
Yeah.
one of the subs. And just for completion's sake, the other sub was actually Per Mertesacker. Because at 7-1, you want to you want to just kind of like settle the game
Mhm.
down a little bit, so Mertesacker was the other sub in that game. Podolski did not feature at all in this game as well.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to make a couple of changes to the formation, and this starts making sense. Thomas Muller actually played on the right wing of that attack, and Mesut Ozil
If you
played on the left.
if you tell me, I can I take a shot at this
You can take a shot. I think you know where this is going.
close up front and Schweinsteiger and Kadira in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Miroslav
Yeah.
Klose started the game, Schweinsteiger in the pocket, and Sami Khedira uh, also played
It
as
was
well.
it was the most obvious. Closer seemed like the most obvious choice, but I just didn't want to just assume. Same with Kadira and Schweinsteiger
Yeah.
because Kadira in that World Cup recreated the Bundesliga logo. Was it
Mm.
that World Cup or was it the next one? I think it was
Uh,
that one.
I think it could have
So
been that one. Yeah.
yeah, so he recreated the Bundesliga logo on that one. And I knew Schweinsteiger was a big part of it, but I couldn't remember did he start or not.
Mm.
I mean, that's not bad.
You did pretty well there. So you got
Yeah,
7 out of the 11 correct, which is not bad at all. And again,
yeah,
considering that you got one of the subs right as well, and Charlotte did play but just didn't start. Because I think what kind of threw you off there was that Charlotte scored 2 in that game after coming on
yeah.
as a substitute. Kadir scored as well. So did Klose, so did Muller. Kroos got 2 of the goals as well, and I believe then it was an own goal was the one that I'm missing off my list here. Um, no, that's actually all 7 all accounted for. It was actually the Brazilian goal I was thinking of. So yeah, 7 out of 8 out of the 14 is not bad at all. So I think we can count that as a success for you all the same. So there
Mm.
you go. Nice one. Okay, so to kind of tie up our little show here, we're going to combine our narratives and CODs so far in this second half of the segment. So this is a good excuse to play the intro here. Yes. Um,
My card this week is going to be the reason why this exists.
well, let's talk about our narratives first. So what's been the biggest kind of story that you've had of this kind of World Cup so far? We'll chop and change and we'll end on our cards in that sense. So what's been the biggest kind of narrative you've had so
Um,
far of this World Cup?
the fans.
The fact that they're there.
There's no the fact that not only that they're there, there's been no trouble. There's there's a video every other day of two sets of fans having fun with each other.
Mm,
The Norwegian fans have taught every team they face how to do that rowing thing that they do at the end of the match.
yeah,
Um, the Scots, as we mentioned, as we talked about beforehand, have drank Boston dry
yeah,
and not caused any trouble in doing so. You have the Dutch who've made Texas mini Holland, or sorry, mini Netherlands. Um,
mini Amsterdam, surely.
mini we'll go with mini Netherlands because the Dutch actually hate when you think that it's just one city and they
Okay,
don't also like
fair.
being called Holland. Holland is a province and they fucking get very pissed off when you call them
That
Holland.
that
So
is
that's the
very true.
reason.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have that. You have the English managing not to fight anyone, which is good for them. But their most of their contribution as fans is them complaining about the food in America, and then somehow getting rinsed by Americans. It's all very fun. Um, You have the likes of the Japanese learning about Tex-Mex. So they'll probably bring that back home and do better
Yeah,
with that.
that
Apparently, some of the
actually,
best.
oof. The idea of a proper Japanese barbecue instead of a match. Oh,
Yeah, because
with try
apparently the best French food in the world is in Japan.
Mm.
Because when they got a hold of it, they realized, "Ooh, this is nice. Make that better," and they do. The video of the Japanese fan split the G and then turning around and they scored.
That was good.
Fucking
That was
fantastic.
good. Yes.
Absolutely brilliant. Um, like there's been no trouble for me. Not that I was expecting trouble anyway, because I think the era of football hooliganism is done. But you've had nothing. Every video you see of the fans, every time you hear of the fans from any nation,
Mm.
they're having fun. It's a World Cup. The Americans seem to be like, so you mean all we have to do to be nice to each other is like football? That's that's it.
Mm.
Okay, right. That's odd. Um, but it's been the most fun part of it. Like as it goes deeper, obviously most of these fans will leave and time will go on. You know, you'll be left with the bigger nations and whatever. But you kind of hope that one of the smaller nations do continue on
Yeah.
and get deep enough into it that they can still have fun in the quarterfinals, like the Dutch,
Mm.
like the Dutch, like the Scots. Obviously, the Dutch are not smaller nation, which you know what I mean, Liz.
I do. I do. I do. I know exactly what you mean.
Like so, yeah. So I mean, all these things is just like, okay, let's just hope all of this doesn't descend into a farce at some point.
Mm.
Um, I don't think it will. But that's one of my good things from the World Cup. I've got one or two bad things, but that's some of my good things from the World Cup so far. Anyways, it's the fans not being absolute shitheads. Everyone's getting along with everyone. There's been no major incidents of any racism or any sort of discrimination. Everyone seems to be just like, isn't this class one of the World Cup?
Mm.
That's effectively the whole thing. So it's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of again we were kind of like doing a lot of hand wringing in our last podcast about like how this could be really really bad, and the fear was that there was going to be like kind of half empty stadiums, there would be no kind of like media interest, there'd be over policing, all these different things. Grand irony of it is that like because Donald Trump has kind of like played Infantino so well at being the kind of little pathetic sock puppet that he actually is, the fact that he hasn't paid attention to the World Cup at all has actually worked very well for the competition, because it's that kind of thing where like it is that kind of Putin-esque effect of like, okay, when suddenly he shows up, then the whole thing has to be about him. But now because there is no Trump at this World Cup and most likely won't be until the final, which quite frankly I could probably live with, is
I
at
think
least
Trump
a,
Trump will only start showing up if they start making
oh
the
yeah,
quarters.
he'll
I
take
think
credit for
that's
the
where he'll start.
Americans, yeah, doing well or
Yeah,
something. Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
when he's
Um,
not trying to fix the reflective pool in Washington,
That's it.
which has
Well,
been
I
a
was actually
very
just about
funny.
I was about to mention that actually. I think that like more attention
Yeah,
is on that than the actual competition, which is probably
yeah, cleaning and just a little bit of a side note here because this is actually one of those things that every president since Reagan has wanted to fix. So
mm,
the issue with the reflective pool is that the pipes under it are 100 years old.
hmm
It will cost upwards of $50 million to fix. And you can't justify that to the American people.
yeah,
So it's just, let's just hope it gets so bad that I don't have to deal with it effectively. And
mm,
it seems to have landed on Trump. And his way to fix it was to repaint it, reseal it, and then put more water in, which
yeah,
is probably fine. The issue is that he's trying to claim that Antifa protesters have caused a crack down the middle of it. Funny thing is, he's actually probably the one that's caused the crack
yeah,
because before it got filled up, he drove on the fucking thing with his big, massive presidential car that weighs about 3 tons. So he
hmm
probably broke it. The algae came back. They fixed it with hydrogen peroxide, and the hydrogen peroxide melted away the paint. So that's the reason it's coming back up. And now the hydrogen peroxide is there. And anyone
yes,
who's listening to this, look up the head of the company called, funny enough, Greenwater. He looks like a Family Guy character. It's very fun. Look up the chief executive of Greenwater. It's very fun.
But again, again, it's sort of that it's the fact that like they kind of like been able to dodge that sort of like that absolute circus is probably a good thing in a sense because it's allowed actual football to break out, you know?
Yeah,
Like at the very least, like there I think the quality of football has been actually quite good overall. Um there's only been a couple of matches where I'd say have been absolute whiffs, and like England Ghana is one that's kind of in recent memory. But I'd say just typically, I could probably count on one hand where like there's matches where I could probably have like skipped anyway from the ones I've been able to watch. Like even then,
mhm.
like the most exciting match that I've had was probably the 0-0 between Spain and Cape Verde. And again, I was emotionally invested into it, but I think that's the sort of those are the sort of stories that you do get from a World Cup. Like I think a lot of journalists have been kind of saying that like the TV coverage in America had to keep driving home the point that this 0-0 is a really big deal. Because again, the American brain understands big numbers. It's why like a lot of their kind of sports have to have big numbers to go with it. Basketball, baseball, NFL, and fucking lacrosse as well, I guess, if you're Canadian. But at the same thing, we're like a 0-0 sounds terrible on paper to an American, or at least there's the perception that to a layman in a American audience that that is like a bad result. But again, they have to put the context behind it. That this is the European champions going up against a team making their World Cup debut, and there is such a difference in talent pool between these two teams that this 0-0 is genuinely like the one of the most seismic upsets in the competition's history. Um, so for me, I think the narrative has been, first of all, the quality has been very good. A lot of the kind of the minnowed teams, those accused minnows teams, have for the vast majority of them actually come to play. And very few of them have
Yeah.
actually come to be actually the really defensive or like, kind of like basically kind of covering up and just like hoping for the best. Like Ghana have been probably one of the more defensive teams in the competition, and you could probably blame that on Carlos Queiroz alone. Um, Whereas some of the other teams that have
Oh,
tried,
Carlos Carroll. I thought he was Iraq. What
he
do you
was the
mean, Carlos?
Iranian manager for a long time, but
Oh,
he
yeah,
recently took over the
Iran. Yeah,
Ghanaian job like literally 2 months ago because he
yeah.
sacked the manager for losing against Austria
I
in a friend.
am. I am particularly enjoying the fact he done kind of playing Roy Keane's on a commentary thing. He fucking hates Carlos Carroll.
He does, yeah.
He is
Not a
no
fan.
love lost for them. No love lost for him at all.
No.
Like he seems, there's been a couple of things where he's like he is getting a little softer in his old age in a sense.
Mm.
Where he picked up Mount Rushmore football and he actually gave Alex Ferguson a compliment,
Yeah.
which is a big deal because he
I
doesn't
mean,
give
it
Alex
is an
Ferguson
honest of
compliments.
opinion in fairness to him, but yeah,
Yeah, but like I mean, he does not. It's just every time he's just like
yeah.
the Ghana are good defensively. Oh yeah, yeah. Manager's very defensive.
Well,
Yeah. He just
I
doesn't like him at all.
no, he does want to give him the recognition. But again, it is that kind of it is still that kind of aspect of it though, where if you had a game plan going into the World Cup and you stick to it 9 times out of 10, it's working for you. I think Turkey is the exception to the
Mm,
rule, where obviously their game plan was terrible. I think Equatorial could accuse that the big players just haven't shown up, and Tunisia were just a basket case going in because they had a fallout with the manager right at the start of the
yeah.
camp. So those are the kind of like your stereotypical World Cup stories in. But the likes of Haiti and Iraq, I'm thinking of, they went to play football. Like they like Iraq were attacking Norway for the majority of the game, and Norway just had a lot more class and just exposed them on the
Mm,
counter. Haiti again, I think if they were in a group like say Group K or in let's say like Group B for example, I think they do quite well in that. If they were where Qatar were, I think they'd probably get to the next round because they do have good
mhm,
players there. Um, I think like again for me the when it comes to minnows, I don't think there's any going past Cape Verde because they have been the feel good story of the World Cup for me personally. Like I said in many group chat, it's weird that a guy that I went to the same school with is now playing in the World Cup and is not only that but also one of the biggest stories coming out of it, and by
Oh,
merit.
did you see the RT video where they used the Johnny Cash song?
Yeah,
Oh, that was brilliant.
but again,
That was fucking brilliant. TV license entirely worth it just for that.
yeah, but then, like I said, that is fully justified. Like again, it's a great advertising for the League of Ireland in a sense because also Joey Anang in the Ghanaian squad as well. One pulled hamstring, and that boy's gonna get a World Cup appearance. And
Yeah.
and the thing is that at least with Cape Verde, like Lopez is in the center of that defense. He is part of the leadership structure there. He's not
Yeah,
there to make up numbers.
he's not just there to make up the numbers just because it's a feel good story. Like he is a clear like leader of that team.
Yeah.
So he's not just there for the fun of it, he's there to actually play. He
Mm.
just so happens to be 32.
He's 33, so yeah.
He's 33. 33 years old in this first World Cup. Like, it's a great advertisement, as you just said, it's a great advertisement for the League of Ireland.
Mm.
Like, that one of the players that plays with one of the top teams in the League of Ireland is now a star player at a World Cup. That's fucking mad.
And
We would have
again,
been saying that a
the
couple of years
Americans are
ago.
going to love him because like he actually has that bit of personality. He's actually, oh my God, he's Irish as well. Kerching, let's fucking drive this down into the
Yeah.
ground. LinkedIn. But again, it's the overall story is fantastic, but behind it has been an incredible body of work, not just from him, but from all the rest of his team as well. Like again, let's not hide behind the fact that like they got a 2-2 draw against Uruguay, a heavily flawed, heavily failing, withered Uruguay, but they still got a result against them. And hopefully they'll sustain it by getting a result against Saudi Arabia, and they either finish second or third in the group. It's entirely possible that Pico Lopez might go up against Lionel Messi, which is
Which is
and
nuts.
like how the fuck is he meant to go back to the League of Ireland after that? Like he's gonna have to mark Lionel Messi, and then when they get eliminated, 2 weeks later he has to go back and fucking mark like, fucking Colin
Get a
Whelan.
random,
Ryan Evans,
yeah, just to get a
Horgan.
random striker from the League of Ireland. It's just, you could just, at that point, you could just retire.
Yeah, like it's
I faced Lionel Messi in a World Cup. Yeah, but he was 39. Yeah, but he scored 5 goals in the World Cup. All right. It's not he wasn't a slouch at 39. All right. I fucking played against him. And if he manages to put on a half decent performance at the end of it, I would imagine he'll sell his firstborn to get his top.
well, I think it could
I
be the
mean,
other way around. It's like actually kind of get your top peacock. You actually pretty
it
good.
could be that too, yeah. But like if I was him, I'd be just like I would be even before the match. I'm like, I'm getting a jersey, yeah. I mean, obviously, I gotta get your jersey here.
Yeah.
Come on, I need to go back to Crumlin here and just like go. That's Lionel Messi's top from the World Cup,
Mm.
and if you win it, I'm set for life.
He might love you for McAllister's one. It's like, come on, I'm Irish, you're Irish. Let's cut the bullshit here, right? So come on.
That's true too. Yeah, yeah, that's
Um,
also true.
but again, like it's a body of work as well. Like the fact that like that Razabal looked so ordinary with him being man marked out of it, and then he scores two against Saudi Arabia. So like like it's not a fluke, is what I'm saying. Is like that there is a genuine body of work here from that entire team that managed to keep the European champions at bay and a stalwart in Uruguay and got them and play and fought fairly in a sense that they were absolutely in that match for the entire thing. And again, their reward will be to go up against the best team in the world and the best player in the world. Which leads me to my second narrative, which is I think this World Cup has finally ended the Messi Ronaldo debate.
Oh yeah, every big player has showed up, and Ronaldo is still not done it
Mm,
against. And it was only against Uzbekistan that he did it. And again, that's not something you hang your hat on.
no.
He's done. He's finished. Roberto Martinez, even though he doesn't have the balls, should have the balls to tell him, "You're not starting the next game.
Mm,
You can't. I have to play. Come on. He's obviously, as I said, he's perfect to play with 65 minutes gone
mm,
with a fresh legs Ronaldo. That's fine. But he's not someone you start when you need to win in the knockout stages. He's finished. He's done, and it's sad because I
yeah.
hate when these great players just fall on their sword and don't know when to give up. Eventually, but yeah, it's not been the World Cup he would have wanted. I don't think any of us wanted. Like, I mean, I know he's Ronaldo and he's not like universally liked because he's
Yeah.
an arsehole and for legal reasons I will say possible rapist. But the fact that he just doesn't know when to stop is not admirable anymore.
Mm.
It's like kicking a child. It's you've done it. It doesn't mean you should have.
Yeah, well, I'd also kind of throw in that other aspect, like even if you don't like his personality, if you're not like kind of like super obsessed with him, like his Cork fan base is, I'd also just kind of look objectively at the fact that he had to lobby FIFA to get a suspension
Yeah,
lifted to get these two games where he was completely ineffectual. Like Portugal would have won that game against Uzbekistan if he wasn't there. Likewise, they probably would have beaten DR Congo when he wasn't there. And again, FIFA have never done something like that before. They did it because Ronaldo went on his hands and knees and begged that he play in this World Cup. Um, Hiding behind commercial reasons and fan reasons and all these different things. And he got his way because he knows how to play the game. He knows that like this is an American World Cup and commercialism is key. Star quality is key. The air of celebrity is the most important bit. So naturally, him being one of the biggest names in the World Cup, he had to feature. Again, the psychology was that okay, if you actually flipped it the other way and said you're suspended for 2 games, that game against Colombia is where you return, and that's your biggest draw.
yeah.
That's the headline you pull back now is the return of Ronaldo, and he's going to lead Portugal into the round of 32 and the last 16 and blah blah blah. You could have spun it the way you want to, but what's always been the thing with Ronaldo is that there has always been a hidden insecurity deep within his core. And the older he gets and the more of a celebrity he gets, the more that insecurity is there to see. That lad never grew up after seeing that kind of like that, like slightly
No,
weird, creepy 17-year-old that left Lisbon. He has never grown up to be a kind of a normal human being in a sense. He has a kind of Peter Pan syndrome about him.
no.
And
Like I mean, like
a lot of footballers
to
are like
be
that.
fair,
Don't get me wrong. I
yeah, a
think
lot of
Ronaldo is
footballers are
very
like that.
public. It's very obvious.
Yeah, and I mean to throw in another sport as well into this.
Hmm.
A lot of wrestlers are like that too,
Oh yeah,
where all the
absolutely.
top ones have fatal insecurities about him. Just watch a documentary about superstar Billy Graham, and
Hmm.
his insecurities made him go longer than he probably should have, and he had any right to. And it's the same as affecting Ronaldo.
Yeah,
My guy, just please, just give up.
yeah.
Just tell the manager that he's not going to. Tell the manager that's probably better off I start in the subs bench or just accept it if it comes along.
Hmm.
Because this is a fantastic Portuguese side. It has
Yeah.
the best attacking midfielder on planet Earth inside it. It's also got a bunch of other fantastic players in it too, like Bernardo Silva, and stuff like that. All
Bruno.
rats. I
I feel
understand.
bad for Bruno having to constantly stand in his shadow when Bruno
It's
realistically could have led this team instead.
Bruno very easily. He's the captain of Man United, and he's been leading that team for the last 2 or 3 years.
Hmm.
Bruno is a leader of men. But when you've got Ronaldo in there, it doesn't matter if you're a leader of men because that petulant fucking child is going to be over your shoulder crying because he didn't get a pass near the end.
Yeah.
One of the most like the thing is, well, the most depressing game I've seen Ronaldo play was one of his last ones in the United jersey when
Hmm.
they played in the Europa League, and it was like getting the special kid to score a goal in P. They
Hmm.
just kept passing the ball and they kept missing. They kept getting more frustrated. They kept getting more angry. And he kept missing even worse. And I remember we could have won that game something like six or I can't remember who it was against. I think it was against the Cypriot side. I'm not really sure. But it was like a minnows that we should have beaten like 6 or 7-0. We only
Yeah.
came out of it with two. And it looked worse because they kept giving the ball to Ronaldo. I think Rashford could have scored four in that game. He kept passing the ball to Ronaldo just so he could get a goal. And it just didn't work out. It's
Hmm.
really sad to watch. Like just give up, my man. Retire after this with your head held high on the fact that you had one of the greatest footballing careers ever. You were arguably the best player on planet Earth for a couple of years there. It just so happened that we got a reincarnation of Maradona at the exact same time, and he kind of beat you to him.
I think
Just
that is the other aspect of it as well. Is that like he looks worse by comparison because Messi has been so kind of as you said like kind of messianic with how he has been like so far in the competition. Now again, he might end up scoring a single goal for the rest of the competition, but those 5 goals are still more than any other 39-year-old has scored probably since Roger Milla, or Miroslav
like
Klose. And that's the thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just Messi still has it in him.
Mm,
Ronaldo lost it 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, when Ronaldo left the way he left at United, he was done.
yeah.
It would be whatever ego was there was booted out of him by Eric Ten Hag, who he has no love lost for, by the way,
Mm,
both sides. Ten Hag does not talk about him in the most favourable of terms. Um, Again, I know why United brought him in at the time because it would have been highly embarrassing if he fucked off to Man City and ended up doing something there. So I get it, I understand it. But again, once he left there and he went to Saudi Arabia, I was like, oh God, we're about to get four of the most depressing years.
Mm.
I mean, Arsenal of a footballer's career ever, and it has been. I mean, they were basically, well, the Saudi League was basically fixed for him to win it.
And it still kind of is, yeah. Realistically speaking, like a lot of the
I mean,
teams are kind of
he
shuffled
finally
around to
did
do
it.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because like Ivan Toney should have been a league winner there, but
Mm.
they kind of some decisions went against them. This happened, another thing happened. They shuffled around fixtures, and it kind of just they were just like, yeah, no, we're giving Ronaldo this,
Well, the
please.
Saudi League is a completely sycophantic project, both for the PIF and for
Yeah,
Ronaldo. But that's ultimately what it is for. It is literally just to make that. Now, again, Messi has that with the MLS as well. Like MLS shuffles fixtures around all the time to suit
and
Messi
that,
better. You know.
but see, the thing is as well with the MLS, they're not as egregious about it. Messi just happens to be the biggest player there, but they're kind of just like we don't really need Messi.
I think
It's
they
great
they
that we
they all
have
sit
him.
behind the argument that it's they want to make it more commercially viable in a sense. Where like,
Yeah,
let's not
yeah,
have
so
this
that's
match at
fine.
3 o'clock. Let's move this match to 9 o'clock so more people can go to this match in Miami. That
More
sort
people
of
can go,
thing.
and that's fine. That's grand because
Hmm.
that's just capitalism.
Yeah.
You've got the best player in the world, or you're going to switch around some things you can get the most money out of them. That's fine. There's no problem there. But again, the MLS doesn't need Messi.
Yeah.
If Messi went to the MLS when Beckham did at the same age, the MLS would have needed Messi.
Hmm.
But the MLS is past that. And the Saudi League didn't really get that boost that they expected from Ronaldo in terms of name recognition because everyone just knows it's all owned by the same family.
Yeah.
Bar four clubs, I think, are not owned by him. Four, five.
Possibly, yeah, because they expanded the league, so there's a few others that are now kind of under
Yeah, there's a
different kind
few.
of
Yeah, like
groups and stuff. Yeah.
Gerard's old team is one of them. I
Yes.
think Al is not owned by the royal family. So, like, it's depressing. He's going to go out with a whimper when he
Hmm.
really should have went out on top, which was the way everyone should go out. Like
Yeah.
Messi very easily could have retired after the last World Cup and just left it at that,
Hmm.
but he didn't, and no one really cares because he's still Lionel Messi,
Yeah.
and he just scored 5 goals at 39 years old, and one of them was a hat trick, which he beat Ronaldo to. Beat Ronaldo's record as the oldest person to ever get a hat trick at a World Cup, and
Which
that's
is gonna
gonna
boil his
eat.
piss as well, in fairness. He's
It's
not gonna have
gonna
a
boil
single
his
record to his
piss,
name. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, yeah,
So
but
so
that was going to be my cod as well, by the way. But that's basically
yeah,
gone.
I think that was going to be my cut as well. I think I'm still holding to my World Cup cut of Ronaldo. I don't think it's going to change. I'm kind of the other ones that we had. I think are starting to kind of like to dissipate a little bit. And we haven't seen as I'm glad to see that we haven't seen as much kind of like egregious injuries in this camp in this
Yeah,
competition so
that's
far.
surprising actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think everyone was expecting more from that, and we haven't really gotten it. There's
I
been
think
no injuries there at all, which has been great.
I have noticed that a lot of people are not doing kind of turn and burn runs as much. I think that
Hmm.
could be that could be kind of a conscious thing of like not like stamp like twisting your knee as much and then running. It seems like people are kind of straighten up first and then make their runs. That could also be down. A lot of that could be down to conserving like energy as well, because again, it is pretty nasty heat and humidity out there. So it doesn't make sense to be doing as many sprints and bursts as you kind of need to in a sense, which is why I think that the likes of like say Mbappe and Haaland have been doing so well because they are burst strikers. They don't necessarily
Hmm.
press the entire game, but once they have a sniff and they have an opportunity, they will use their proverbial turbo to get at that place and finish and make the finish. So I think it's gonna be a good competition for them. Like overall, I actually think it's been a very good competition for strikers. Because like I said, Haaland is doing well. Messi, we had a Ronaldo conversation already, but it's a lot of it. Much like I probably shouldn't come as a surprise for an American World Cup that it is all about the cult of personalities. It is literally the theme of this World Cup could very well be the end of the Messi Ronaldo, finally the end of the Messi Ronaldo era and the starting
That
or the
that
resumption or whatever of the Mbappe. But again, you can argue that like the Haaland generation is already halfway through because Messi Ronaldo is still here. They haven't exactly
mm,
passed the baton on. He's still continuing, you know. But I think it's also like it's quite telling for a lot of like other those kind of like not those kind of like proper messianic players, but there's still world class players there that are kind of bowing out kind of more gracefully or more kind of like under the radar in a sense. Like Mo Salah, for example, like being kind of subbed off in both of the Egyptian games, where but he has contributed to both of them. Like it is literally like no, we like it is time for these other players to step up now for Egypt. It can't go through Salah anymore because he is too old. Likewise, with Belgium, De Bruyne was the focal point. He was the star man in
mm,
that team. Lukaku, you'd say that as well, but De Bruyne is like we are solely reliant on De Bruyne to do all the work for us. Again, same thing. We need to find someone else to do this job now. So you need to find the new De Bruyne, the new Modric, for example. Thankfully, Croatia have
yeah.
a choice of that in Butrina and Budimir, so they're okay in that sense. But it is that sort of thing, and what I'm also looking for as well is what the next super team is going to be. Um, I don't think it's in this World Cup that we're going to see it, but I think the startings of the next Super Cup team is Morocco. Because I think you look at the young players that are coming through, they are all going to declare for Morocco more than likely, and they're going to have a serious outfit. And it's a
Mm,
shame that they're kind of the grouping, the seedings have kind of gone away from them. But again, if they play the cards right, they will probably do well. They probably could get to the quarterfinals minimum. Um, I think if I remember correctly from the brackets that we did, I think we have them down for a Netherlands meetup in the round of 32, and then I think either the round of 16 or the quarterfinals is where they'll meet France. So that in of itself is not great because you probably argue that France Morocco could have been the final, but I suppose overall then we seem to be kind of happy enough with our cards at this stage. So what's the teams that you're really looking out for now in the rest of the competition? What's really catching your eye in that respect?
well, I mean, I'd like to see Cape Verde go to the next round and hopefully get a favorable draw and maybe make the last 16.
Mm,
Um, hopefully Norway do well. The dream scenario of Iran versus America is still slightly on, I think.
mm,
The other funny one is it has to some absolute fuckery is gonna go on somewhere in one of the groups between America, the American group and the English group,
mm,
because there's a small window there where we get England and America in Philadelphia on July the 4th,
mm.
which objectively is a very funny game down on July
Yeah.
4th. um, other than that, I think the French might make the final again. They seem to be working.
Mm,
And my prediction of Mbappe completely cooking them is not going to come true.
yeah.
Because he seems to be a lot more willing to be in a cohesive unit in a French team than he ever was with any club that he played for. Really,
Mm.
he seems to love France first, club second. What else?
I think that's
There's
something
nothing else.
that is something to talk about as well, though, in a sense. Like, again, it's rare to see someone that kind of identifies better with the country than the club, because that kind of goes against the grain of the kind of current football player, where the national team is kind of seen as a bit of an inconvenience, you know.
Mm, yeah, I
But
mean, yeah.
which,
So it's like
yeah,
everything. I'm kind of just like, so there is it. I mean, Argentina could you could. I mean, it's very possible. I think we can have a redo of the final again.
it is. I think it's doable. I'm not. I'd have to check.
Yeah, check it. I think there's a way of that happening as well. Um, hoping England completely buckle up. They won't. They'll probably make a semi-final, and we'll have another TV show about it because why not?
Well, do you know what? As narratives go, I am still very intrigued to see how this is going to go for England because I think on paper I like I will say kind of fast to my kind of belief that this is probably the best like England squad they've had in a while.
this
Uh,
this
yeah.
this is a ridiculously good England. They're getting to France levels and how much players they can leave at home,
Mm,
which is a scary thought.
yeah.
It really is a scary thought. So, I mean, you don't want that. You don't want them to win.
Mm,
I would only want them to win because they'll have to praise the German manager and the English fans. That's going to boil their piss for the next 40 years.
yeah.
You just know it is. Um, But other than that, I mean, right now, no, there's nothing else there. It's a shame your man from Shamrock Rovers isn't um maybe 6, 7 years younger, because I think a Premier League team or a Championship team may have picked him up. But
Mm.
at 32, probably unlikely.
It's more than certainly unlikely. I think
Yeah,
like I said, I think that to me is a kind of celebration. As I said, I believe it's a celebration of the league in itself. But I think
yeah,
I'll qualify that. It's if I said it was a celebration of the league, I think that's kind of that's doing Pico himself a disservice, because ultimately this is down to the fact that like he took an opportunity, he saw an opportunity and he took it. And I think it's a great example of being able to back yourself and saying, "Do you know what, I actually am good enough to play international football." And it just coincided with this unbelievable project that Cape Verde ended up going on, that saw them essentially becoming this powerhouse of in African football. Because again, the first time they got to a African Cup of Nations, they got to the quarterfinals, and that's essentially the same team that's now in the World Cup, just they're just 6 years older. So again, Pico Lopez was in that, or 4 years older, I should say. So Pico Lopez was in that team. A lot of the goal scorers and the Ryan Mendes, who's the kind of the captain of the team, the kind of the original Cape Verdean footballer, if you like. He is the central focus of that team. And again, he got there. He's been there since the start. The goalkeeper that everyone was going mental for over the Spanish game, and then starting pittering the Uruguayan game,
mm,
he was there since the start as well. So this team have grown old together since the very very beginning. So yeah, I think that to me is like the if we're looking for like kind of a Italian 90 equivalent moment for us as Irish people, I think Cape Verde is that this year. Costa Rica was that a
mhm.
couple of years ago when they went to the a couple of tournaments ago when they got to the quarterfinals, and it was insane. And then we thought the same about Morocco when we went, actually no shit, they are actually that good. This isn't a fluky kind of like
Yeah,
success. They are actually genuinely this good. It was like when we suddenly had that kind of the kind of realization that actually Croatia is actually quite good too, that sort of thing. Um, what about the host nations? We'll end with the host nations, because I think it's quite evident that like I think at the moment USA are probably the best of the three, Mexico second and Canada third. I think that's a reasonable thing to say. Um,
yeah.
I think
Canada
Canada will
aren't great,
probably
but
yeah. Well,
they'll
I think the
probably.
moment Canada might meet an actual good, a serious team, I think they'll get their asses kicked.
Mm.
Case in point, they lost to
By
Switzerland
the way,
a while ago.
did
So
not know that. Um, who's the manager again? What's his name? I can never remember his name.
the Canadian manager,
The Canadian manager. Yeah,
Jesse
what's his name
Marsh.
again? Jesse Marsh. Basically bullied them into actually signing him.
Yes.
Yeah, he basically went, "You're all shit, and I know how to play with this team better."
Mm,
And to be fair to him, he's kind of doing that job. I mean, he'll probably get him out of the group and maybe to the last 16, maybe depending on
mm.
who they play next.
Yeah. I think they've
So I
got
mean,
South
if that
Korea
works,
next as things stand because they finished second in the group. So they got South Korea next,
yeah.
which means they
So
don't play
that's
in Canada now, which is far from ideal.
yeah. The US team are probably going to do fine. The Mexico team, I'm just hoping Mexico managed to break their voodoo and get out of. Well, they probably get out of the 32. I hope they get out of the 16, and I hope they at least make the quarterfinals.
Well,
Because I would like to see them
they will
finally
have to
break
beat
that
England
voodoo.
to get to the quarterfinals. So that's
But
the tricky aspect
that
of it.
won't be happening. So the voodoo sticks stays
Yeah.
because they ain't beating the fucking English. Not a
No.
hope. But other than that, like I mean, it's too early to tell. I think once the rounds of 32 go, they have a better idea of like who I want to win it and
Yeah.
who, the success stories and stuff like that. But other than that, I suppose it's not been the worst World Cup so far. I mean,
I think it's
people
been
were
intriguing. I think
expecting
it's
it to be
bubbling up
bad.
quite nicely.
Yeah,
I know that there's quite a lot of like matches that are a bit of a dead rubber, especially now going to the next round. A lot of teams are kind of happy for draws to a certain degree.
which
Um,
is fine. I mean, you always get out in the last
You
round
do
games
get, yeah,
anyway.
exactly, yeah.
Uh,
I think there's gonna be a
so
lot of, especially in some of the groups, like say the Dutch group and the French group, there's gonna be a lot of city bookers going on for who wants to finish second or third. In a sense, where like they're thinking, like especially for like the Netherlands in particular, they're going, okay, who would we rather face? Or no, Brazil actually is a good example. Who would we rather face? Japan or like they have that kind of luxury of choosing, which is that sort of thing. Where so like especially for like if you're Dutch going like, okay, we have a choice of either Morocco or Brazil. What do we fancy our chances against? That's the sort of
mm,
thing. Which is a shame because again, I'm very intrigued by the Dutch outfit. I don't know what it is about it. I don't. Maybe it's because of the inert Liverpoolisms in it between Van Dijk, Gakpo, and Gravenberch, which usually when the spine of a national team all come from the same club, they normally play better. Um, but again, I think they just add that little extra dimension now since Somerville and Brobby have come into the team. They don't look as stodgy as most Dutch teams do. And again, I haven't mentioned
Mm,
even the likes of Timber, who I think is obviously out injured, which is a shame. But the likes of Frankie de Jong is kind of in the background a little bit. He's just plugging away and
yeah,
just doing bits and bobs. And again, it's a very, very, very good football team. The problem is that they there's a lot of very good football teams that are going to do a lot better than they will. And that's always a kind of frustrating thing is that they just don't have the exact perfect kind of like ingredients to make a World Cup winning outfit. But if it's going to happen like for the Dutch, it's probably going to happen now because do they have a natural replacement for Van Dijk? Do they have a natural replacement for some of the players that will be phased out? They have a lot of young players coming through, and they have to fulfill their potential. So it's that sort of thing where like they'll always be in this kind of perpetual cycle of we need to win it now before we lose all these players, and then it'll come again.
yeah. They haven't really the last or the last Dutch side that nearly won it was the Van team of this Spanish, the year the Spanish won it.
Yeah, that would have been the
Yeah,
South African World Cup, I think, wasn't it?
the South African World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so that was kind of the last team. Um, this is very much a transitional side. I think. I think is the next one where they'll probably push ahead. But I think they're hitting their point as well with managers where they keep going back to legends of the Dutch game.
Yeah.
Like they had Van Gaal for a couple of years, more than a couple of years. She's 8 or 9
Yeah, they've been
years,
kind of
and
alternating
they've
between
got
Van Hal and Coleman for the last while, and then they
yeah,
had Frank de Boer, who was an absolute disaster.
yeah. So you'd kind of hope that they maybe move like Aaron Slot, if they put the money towards them, he probably might turn his head and go, maybe I
I think
could
Slot
do it.
is pretty much being groomed for the to replace Coleman anyway. Because I think
Is he?
Coleman
Oh well, I
has
mean,
kind of intimated that he's not going to stay around for the next cycle
I
anyway.
wouldn't. I like. I mean, yeah. Coleman's how old is Coleman? Was he like 68?
He's like late
69.
50s certainly. Yeah,
I thought
63.
he was
Yeah,
like
so yeah,
60,
so
sixty-three.
he
Yeah.
will be on the way out
Yeah,
anyway.
he's done. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
his last couple of club jobs didn't work out either. He basically got bullied out of Barcelona. So,
yeah,
I mean, he's done.
mm,
So maybe the next World Cup is where they can do it. If
yeah,
they can replace Van Dijk and a couple of other ones, and like Memphis Depay and stuff like that.
mm,
If they can replace them with equally good or well, not better than Van Dijk's case, because you're probably not going to get a better player than him unless he's just the second coming of Franz Beckenbauer,
yeah,
which won't happen. So unless you can replace them at least to somewhere relatively good,
mm,
they should be all right because they're always going to be all right. They're
yeah.
Dutch.
I
They'll
think I
always
think
have
that's
some
that's
talent
the
for
thing
them.
about them is that they're always all right but never winners. That's the frustrating
Yeah,
thing.
and that's
That's why
and
there's a part of me that kind
I
of
would
wants them to
like
do it this year.
I would like to see in my lifetime a Dutch World Cup winner.
Yeah.
But it's just that part of it is just like you always come close, but I just never see them. Like if Cruyff couldn't do it, who can?
Mm,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I think there's a lot of countries that are in that kind of role. I think you could probably say the same about Portugal, but well, like Portugal's issue is very fucking evident on one person, whereas with the Dutch, a lot of it's down to luck, and a lot of it's just down to kind of picking the wrong
Yeah.
tactics, approaches, and whatever. So who knows? Who knows what happens down the line? But anyway, we're gonna leave it here for the moment, because we have Brazil Scotland to look forward to in literally 20 minutes is at time of recording. So I'll be doing the edit of this while watching that match. So I should be having fun there. Aaron, thank you very much for
I'll
jumping
be
on.
having a shower because it's very hot at the moment.
It
It's
is.
hot
We're
weather
living
for
through
a
a heat
fat
wave
man.
here, so yeah, it's
I am sweating sitting down here. I am dying to just go into the shower and just stand under the cold water and then have a fan on me for 3 hours to get me asleep.
yeah. So it's there isn't any health warning for podcasting under high temperatures, but there really should be. Um.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're gonna leave it here for the moment. Aaron, thanks for jumping on for this podcast, and we'll be back in 2 weeks' time to review the knockouts because by the time that we come around, we'll be talking about quarterfinals, which will be very exciting, and we'll have a better idea then who we think is going to win the whole thing. How many upsets will we see? Will Cape Verde still be there? Will Cristiano Ronaldo still be there? The answer is yes, he never leaves. It's starting to stink up the place a little bit, to be honest. But anyway, that's a separate issue. Until then, we'll see you next time, because all of that was Liquid Football.